League. You join me here for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it could be a big weekend. The World Championship could be decided this evening. We have a 33-point gap between Stephen at the top and Callum in second place, and only 50 points left on the table. So Callum needs to outscore Stephen by 7 points this evening, or Stephen will be crowned the world champion of season 2, a race early as well. Brilliant track here at Interlagos, one of the oldest on the calendar. Good old-fashioned style racetrack as well. Narrow track, grass and gravel runoff areas in a lot of places to catch the drivers out. Walls along the pit straight, making it feel like a street circuit in many ways. And we're getting ready now for Q1. A couple of driver changes just very quickly to go through. At Ferrari, Gary unfortunately isn't racing this evening, so we have Kieran in his place instead. At Renault, we have no Jorge. He has been replaced by Arthur Bowler. At at Haas, we have no Phil racing. We have Jack Smith instead. And neither Williams driver, that's Fraser McKenzie and Ross Pilgrim, are racing this evening. Instead, we have Anthony Bauer and Luke. And also the other thing very quickly for qualifying, I mentioned Racing Point a second ago, Michael Booker does have a qualifying ban, so you won't see him out on track. He will start at the back of the grid. So those are just my little points to run through. It's been a big week. Couple of weeks for the league. I hope you all had an amazing Christmas and New Year as well, by the way. But it's been a big couple of weeks for the league. I mentioned last time out the driver contracts were going to be available after the race, and they've now all been decided. I will go into them in more detail at some point over the next couple of weeks, but they've all been decided, and it's going to be a big season next year for the league. We've got 5 team managers managing 2 teams each, and all the drivers have been signed already for varying lengths of time on their contracts and with varying difficulties of terms of those contracts to be able to keep their seat. So it's going to be a big season next year, and I'm also delighted to say I will be the main commentator for you next season as well. So I'm very pleased about that, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. We have our first driver on the track, and it is Anthony Bauer in the Williams. We've seen him racing a few times this season. Always delivered very, very well. I think he was in Alfa Romeo last time around, and he had a brilliant drive at the previous Grand Prix. Just very, very quickly as well, talking about drivers, Kyle Keegan, who was at Alfa Romeo, he's going to be missing for the rest of the season. So his seat, they were thinking of doing various reserve drivers for the remainder of the season, but it has been, I've been told this evening, that his seat permanently till the end of the season is going to Matt Anderson, who's going to be a driver in the league next season as well. So that is good news for Matt, good news for the league. We've got a few drivers now out on track. We've got Kieran out in the Ferrari. We've also got Gregor and Arthur Bowler out as well. But here is Anthony Bauer. Jamie Keats out as well for Toro Rosso. But Anthony Bauer in the Williams, the first car to start their flying lap here in Q1. Same rules as always, 18-minute session. We lose the bottom 5 from this session. So this is all about, certainly for the top teams, this is all about just getting through, setting a lap time and getting through into Q2. So here is the Williams, with that Mercedes power really helping it around here. Always a great crowd here at Interlagos. They love their Formula 1. They're so enthusiastic. And especially because the last few years we actually haven't had a Brazilian driver on the grid. They've produced over 30 over the years. Of course, the great Ayrton Senna came from here. They've had 2 other world champions, 3 other race winners. Of course, Rubens Barrichello as well, the most experienced driver in Formula 1 history. Could be eclipsed, well, will be eclipsed by Kimi Raikkonen next season, of course, but no F1 on the driver on the grid since 2016, but they still show up and give huge support to Formula 1. Anthony Bauer crosses the line with a 1 minute 10.9. Good opening lap from him, no mistakes. And he put in a solid lap here. This is Jamie Keats in the Toro Rosso. Problems there for Luke in the Williams. He seems to have left the session. Hopefully he will be able to get back in time. Here is Jamie Keats in the Toro Rosso as Arthur Bowler goes fastest and now Gregor goes faster still. So with they in the 1 minute 10s, expect to see that drop certainly into the 1 minute 9s, maybe the 1 minute 8s here as well. It's a very short lap. As immediately as I say that, Kieran goes fastest for Ferrari on a 1 minute 9.8. So good lap from him. Regular driver, of course, at the start of the season. Dropped to a reserve now, but it is great to see Kieran back in the league. It's a good lad, and he's nice to have him racing with us this evening. Jamie Keats goes fourth in the Toro Rosso. Andrew in the McLaren has gone sixth. Let's see who else I can find. This is Dan in the Renault. Oh, a little bit wide there, and Mogullo just about kept hold of it. There's a Ferrari right behind him, which I think is Callum on his outlap, so he will be looking to get a nice slingshot here along the main straight and hope that Dan gets straight out of his way at the end of his lap. And yes, Dan moving close to the pit wall, and he is doing that. Dan moves into 5th place as Callum starts his flying lap. It's a great corner there, turn 1. It's cambered toward the curb on the inside. Come out wide. It's a very late apex on that corner to give you the best slingshot out to the rest of the chicane. This is the long back straight down to Subida do Lago. This is turn 4. Then through turn 5, which these days is easy flat. Then Ferradura coming up. See if I can ride on board with Callum through this lap. Here we go. Ferradura. You can't see the apex there from the driver's viewpoint. Tight right-hander. This has been Herino. You have to wait on the throttle, then hard on the power. This is the duckbill. Vico De Pato. Oh, Callum a little bit wide, but got it in for a late apex. Hard on the power. Mogullo as well. I remember that used to be a daunting corner, but easy flat these days. And this is Yun Cao, the junction corner. And then these corners here, in the dry, easy flat. Terrifying in the wet. You really have to hang on to the car. This is the run up to the line. The DRS zone starts halfway along this curving back straight. And Callum goes second, fraction slower than his teammate. He'll be pleased with that as Dean goes fastest in the Mercedes, a 1.9.4. So Dean here looking to help his teammate win the World Championship here this weekend. Of course, he's also his brother as well. But he'll be looking to keep Callum behind him as long as possible in the race. Here is Jamie Callan in the McLaren coming across the line, and he moves up into 4th place. We've seen some brilliant races and qualifying results from him so far, and there's another good lap to put him into 4th place, only a couple of tenths off the Ferrari, so good effort from him. Here is Anne Waddington in the Toro Rosso. Let's see how he he's coming through Pinarino. Got a little bit of traffic ahead of him, but a lot of traffic ahead of him. There's a racing point there. That'll be Joe Newman, because of course Michael Booker is not taking part in qualifying with his ban. Hopefully that racing point won't disturb the air too much for Ant Waddington. It's a very tricky middle sector as Dean goes faster still. So his second lap on those tyres, still able to produce a good lap. As Ant Waddington comes across the line, and he goes 7th on a 1:10.4. Stephen Harrison has gone 2nd, half a second slower than his teammate, but quicker than the 2 Ferraris. Jimmy in the Haas has gone 15th. So still waiting for 5 cars to set a lap time. Sorry, 4 cars. Michael not taking part, of course. 3 of them are in the pits, though. The one that isn't is Devon. Here he is in the Red Bull. His teammate is currently up in 6th on a 1:10.4, so that will be his immediate aim. So Devon Little here in the Red Bull. Got a couple of cars still out on track. Interestingly, Andrew doing what we've seen him do a couple of times, staying out on those tyres. Likewise, Jamie Keats, who moves up to 6th place on his 4th lap on those soft tyres. So that's an interesting run he's on there. Definitely showing he's got some good speed in that Toro Rosso. 4 laps on those tyres. Of course, you run it at full. They have a special qualifying mode on those engines, which uses a lot of fuel. Uses about instead of just 1 lap of fuel, they use almost 2 laps of fuel in 1 lap. That's how much extra fuel it uses. So the fact he's done 4 laps on those tyres and produces an even quicker lap time is very, very good. Arthur Bowler's gone up into 3rd place in the Renault. That's an excellent lap time. 1 minute 9.8. Only just over half a tenth slower than Stephen Harrison in the Mercedes. So excellent lap time from Arthur Bowler. He could be a dark horse. We've seen him a couple of times in the few races that I've commentated on, really outperforming his machinery. So he could be one to watch in the race. He's up in 3rd place at the moment in the Renault. Here is Devon Little in the Red Bull coming through Sector 2. A little bit of oversteer there through the duckbill. Manages to keep it in check through Magullo. Middle of the track there. That's an interesting line into Yunkao. It would have been a little bit slower on the apex, but he should be able to get the power down a little bit harder. So it should give him a better slingshot onto the pit straight. I say straight, it's all those curves, of course. As Devon, his lap time was disallowed, so that was why he was going a little bit slower. This is the newcomer to the league. This is Jack Smith in the Haas. He's on his first qualifying lap. Let's see how he gets on. I think with Devon, he ran very, very wide at Ferradura. And it's very easy to get a penalty there, even if you don't really gain that much speed. But the game does tend to give you a penalty there very easily on the exit of that corner. So that could have been what happened to Devon. Here is Jack on his lap, newcomer to the league this evening, making his debut. So eager to make a good impression. All the seats have been filled for next season, but he will definitely want to be a regular reserve for any of the drivers that can't make it. He'll be looking to show a good turn of speed, and here he comes across the line in the Haas, and he goes 16th, but only a fraction slower than his teammate. That's about a quarter of a second. So good effort from him. Here is Devon. Lap time's coming thick and fast around here, of course. About 70 seconds for a lap, so it's quite difficult to keep on top of every single lap time. As Devon moves up to 7th on a 1:10.4, so quicker than his teammate by half a tenth. So he'll be very pleased with that. Joe Newman going back out again. He's currently in 11th. So current order, as here is Gareth Lambourne in the Alfa Romeo, coming close to completing his lap. Very quickly the top 10, we've got Mercedes 1-2, Dean ahead of Stephen. Arthur Bowler 3rd, Kieran 4th, Callum 5th, Jamie Callan in 6th, Devon 7th, Jamie Keats is 8th, Gregor is 9th, and Ant Waddington is 10th. Here comes Gareth Lambourne across the line. He moves up to 16th. Good effort from Gareth in that Alfa Romeo. Definitely struggling with a bit of handling with that Alfa, but the power in that from that Ferrari engine in the back of it is very good. So that will certainly help him on the way out of some of these slow corners. But Gareth 16th. He'll be looking to try and make it through. Jimmy is out on another lap. He's half a second up. He's got to find about 7/10, about 3/4 of a second to get out of the drop zone at the moment. He's in 17th position. I do feel sorry for Luke in the Williams because I don't think he's been able to get back in the race yet, into the game yet, and he's the only driver not to set a lap time. So he's 19th at the moment. Do feel sorry for him. Saw him last time out, of course, at the United States Grand Prix. But here comes Jimmy. He's 17th at the moment. Can he move out of the bottom 5 with this effort? Good first sector, good middle sector as well. So it could be close here for Jimmy in the Haas. And he just moves up into 15th place, but he's on the bubble as Joe Newman moves up to 6th. Excellent lap time from him. Look at that, 1:10.0. Very, very good lap time from him. Trying to concentrate at the moment on the cars down in the bottom 5 or so. Ant Waddington is 11th. He's going back out on a fresh set of tyres. So here is Gareth. He's a 10th up in the first sector. He's got to find about half a second to get out of that bottom 5. He's 17th at the moment. See some real improvement from Gareth. Of course, I commentated last season, and I've commentated for a bit of this season as well. Joe Newman is confident. He's retired from the session. Has seen some really good improvement. Oh, Gareth has run wide and he's hit. Oh my goodness me. Gareth ran wide onto the curb there. The Haas was trying to get out of his way. That was Jimmy. And Gareth ran wide, caught the grass, and he couldn't help spinning, and he ended up hitting Jimmy and spinning him round. And a 5-place penalty for Gareth as well. Such a shame. That was so unfortunate. Not his fault at all. And it looks like there's a bit of damage to Jimmy there as well, because he had a lot of oversteer in Mogullo where it's normally easy flat. That is such a shame for Gareth. I do feel for him there. So we could see, Michael Booker might not be starting last year with that penalty. I think Michael Booker will move up a place with that. Such a shame because he was on a good lap there, Gareth, as well. As here is the other Haas of Jack Smith. He's going out for a second effort. Brand new set of tyres on that car as well. He needs to find just over a second. I didn't see a lot of his first lap, but he's currently 18th. So let's see how he does. He is 2 tenths up in the first sector. It's a good first sector, but this is where you really need to have a good handling car through this very technical middle sector. So important to have a good front end to turn the car in, but also a very stable back end of the car. A little bit wide there in that first tight corner. Pinarino, such a frustrating corner. You want to get on with it, but you can't get on the throttle too early, or you will just do what Gareth did, unfortunately. There is Bico Tapato. Here is Mogullo. Easy flat these days in a Formula 1 car with the new aerodynamics. Nearly a second up, so he's not going to be far away. As he comes through the junction corner, through these long left-hand bends to complete the lap with 3 minutes of qualifying to go. Let's see where this puts him. It moves him up a place. He's up to 17th. Not quite enough. Here is Dan in the Renault. He's also in the drop zone. He's got to find about 3/4 of a tenth. That's all. And he's half a tenth up in the first sector. So the Renault's here a bit of a disadvantage. A lot of inclines on this circuit. You need a good amount of power. And that Renault engine, we believe now, is probably got the least amount of power of the 4 engines on the grid, with the advancement Honda have made. From everything that I've read and understood, the Renault has got the least amount of power now, so they are going to struggle at a track like this. You can see there the inclines on the camera on the hill out of Young Cow, but let's see how he gets on as he crosses the line, and he does move up 1 place, so he's got out of the bottom 5 for now. Here is Jimmy. He's come back out on the same set of tyres. I think he only did that out lap before when Gareth unfortunately hit him. Gareth has gone back out on the same set of tyres as well. These are the only 3 cars on the grid, on the track at the moment. I do think that unfortunately Luke isn't going to make it, so he too is out of the session at the moment. Gareth with his penalty will start last, is my understanding at the moment. So let's see how Jimmy can do in the Haas. My teammate for a few races as well. Another good lad here, Jimmy. It's good to see him in the league. Turns up every single week. He's a good lad. As Andrew as well doesn't feel safe in the McLaren. He's gone back out on a brand new set of tyres. He's in 14th at the moment. Only a couple of tenths clear. Matt Anderson in the Alfa Romeo is sitting in 13th place. He's very, very close in that midfield. Less than a tenth separates 12th to 14th at the moment. And if these two start putting some good laps in right towards the end of the session, we've got less than a minute to go. And, well, would you believe it, Luke has been able to rejoin now. We've got less than a minute and he's not going to get out on the track. So, unfortunately, Luke isn't going to set a lap time here. But as things stand, he will start 18th on the grid. He won't be right at the back because of Michael's qualifying ban and Gareth's penalty. Let's have a look. Jimmy moves up to 14th. Good effort from him under pressure. Could have been his last lap. And he has moved up into 14th. At 1:10.6, he joins Matt Anderson and Anthony Bauer there. Very, very close in that little battle there. Here is Andrew in the McLaren. Surprised to see him so far down. Both McLarens usually right up the front of the grid. He's half a second down on his teammate. Qualifying is now over. We've only got Jimmy Andrew and Gareth out on the track at the moment setting lap times. Let's see how Gareth is doing. He's a quarter of a second up. He could move up a place here, but of course with his penalty that won't mean a lot, unfortunately, for Gareth. Here is Andrew coming through this middle sector. Through Pinherino. Gets on the power nicely. That McLaren, I've noticed with both McLaren drivers, they really set that car up well. It turns in nicely. I was just going to say, always has a very stable back end, but a lot of oversteer there as he got on the power. But both McLaren drivers do seem to work very hard on getting that setup right for that car, because every track I've seen them at, the car handles like a dream from what I can see from the onboard shots. Here is Andrew at the moment. He's on the bubble in 15th place, and he moves up to 7th. That will please him, 0.003 of a second quicker than his teammate. So that will please him, and Gareth has pitted. So he is not going to improve. So there we have the bottom 5. Dan in the Renault is going to start 16th. We also have Jack Smith on his debut. He will start 17th in the Haas. Luke, despite not setting a lap time, unfortunately, he will start 18th. Michael Booker with his qualifying ban didn't set a lap time. He will start 19th. And Gareth, we saw with that penalty, very unfortunate incident, he will start at the back of the grid. But hopefully, I'd love to see Gareth score a point here or two here today. He's got so close from the races I've commentated on, and I'd love to see him up there again. So, there is the confirmation. The 2 Mercedes fastest from the Renault of Arthur Bowler. The 2 Ferraris 4th and 5th. Good effort from Joe Newman in the Racing Point as well. He's in 6th. Then we have the 2 McLaren 7th and 8th. Ant Waddington 9th. And Devon in the Red Bull 10th. So that is your top 10 from Q1. Just waiting now for Q2 to start. And thank you as well to all the listeners who are, viewers who are watching me this evening as well. It's great to have you on board. My other half is also watching this evening. Unfortunately, I has to put up with this every single week, but he enjoys it. So, into Q2. So, for those of you that don't know, it's down to 15 minutes for this session. 3 minutes are cut off from Q1. And we lose again the slowest 5 drivers in this session. But the important thing to remember with Q2, the drivers who do get into the top 10, whatever tyres they set their fastest lap on, those are the tyres they will start the race on. So this is where we see a bit of the strategy coming in here. Some drivers, we've seen it before, have tried to start on the medium tyres. I've even seen drivers try to get through on the harder tyres here, but the hard tyres here are so much slower, about 1.5 seconds a lap slower. So you'd have to have a big car advantage to be able to make that one work. Jamie Keats out again very early in the Toro Rosso. Ooh, going very slowly though. Not sure why he's going so slowly. Maybe, well, he's letting the Williams go. Maybe trying to get a bit of a toe off the back of that Williams. Looks quite murky and cloudy out there as well. I'm going to try and see if I can get hold of what the weather forecast is, because I've got to say it does look quite dark out there, very cloudy and a little bit misty. So maybe there could be rain in the air. So, and we've seen a few wet Brazilian Grand Prix over the years around here, and because of the nature of the circuit, narrow track, grass and gravel, very close to the edge of the racetrack, it always makes a very exciting Grand Prix. One of the best races I've ever seen in my life was in 2003 here, with the rain just hammered down before the race started and never really cleared up. We had Giancarlo Fisichella won that day in a Jordan, which back then was lower midfield teams. We had Michael Schumacher even crash out. The great Michael Schumacher, the Rainmaster, even crashed out on that day, showing how tricky the conditions were. But it's one of the best races I've ever seen in my life. If you haven't had the chance to see it, I think it's on YouTube. Watch it. It's a brilliant, brilliant race. So, the weather forecast, from what I can see, for the race, it's rain after 45 5 minutes, light rain, and then clear again. So looks like we're going to have a shower in the middle of the race. So it's about an hour and a half race. So it looks like the first half being completely dry, a little bit of a shower, and then drying up towards the end. So that's going to make some excitement, and also could potentially judge a few people's strategies here. Because if they can get through on the medium tyres, they can possibly make those tyres last to when the rain comes. So saving themselves a lot of time for the race, as Callum goes fastest, followed by Arthur Bowler. Those who are on the medium tyres. Joe Newman goes third, also on the medium tyres. Jamie Keats had his lap disallowed. We were watching him there. I think he did run wide. That is Devon off the track there. Not quite sure what's happened there. I think he's had his lap disallowed and is letting cars through. Let me see. Here is Kieran in the Ferrari. Let's see what lap time he can do. He's also on those mediums, and he also had his lap time disallowed. Here is Matt Anderson in the Alfa Romeo. He will be in that car as well for Abu Dhabi next weekend. Let's see how he gets on here. Made it through to Q2, so he'll be very happy about that. And he goes third. Soft tyres on that Alfa Romeo, but excellent lap time. Only a tenth slower than the Renault. Matt Anderson goes third for Alfa Romeo, 1:10.4. Let's see who else is on the lap. Here is Jamie Keats. We saw him in the first session go out with a lot of fuel on board, and it looks like he's doing that again. He's had another lap disallowed. So obviously pushing hard. Does he have enough fuel to do another lap? Here is Jimmy on an out lap. Kieran had his first lap disallowed. Has he got enough fuel to do another one? I think he has, because he looks like everything's turned up on that car. So let's see if he can produce the lap this time. His teammate's done a 1:10.2. His fastest at the moment. That will be his immediate target. And Kieran goes third. Less than a tenth slower than his teammate. So good lap time there. Those Ferraris do look very even on pace. Here is Devon in the Red Bull, 10th in Q1. Can he do that again in Q2 and get himself into the third part of qualifying? Both Red Bull drivers really doing well, both improving a lot over the races that I've been watching. And Devon goes fifth, just slightly slower than the Alfa Romeo of Matt. So good effort from him. It's so difficult to keep on top of all the lap times here. There's such a short lap. The lap times come in thick and fast. Here is Jamie Keats. He goes sixth on a 1:10.6. Here is Andrew in the McLaren, also coming through to complete his lap. Anthony Bowers on a lap as well in the Williams. Good effort from him as well, got to say, to get that Williams into Q2. You know how slow that Williams is on a lot of circuits despite its engine power. The car, not a good one this season. And Andrew goes ninth. He's on the medium tyres. So slowest of the timed lap so far from Andrew in the McLaren. Don't be at all surprised to see him come in and put on a set of softs and go out again. Who else is here? Here is Anthony Bauer in the Williams. Where can he go? Just looking for someone's close to the end of the lap. There is Gregor Telford in the Red Bull. First sight of him we've had this evening. Looking to keep his run going of getting points. He either finishes in the top 10, does Gregor, or he very consistently gets the fastest lap outside the top 10. So good consistency from Gregor. Ticking the points over for Red Bull. And for a team like that, that's all you can ask for, really. Anthony Bauer goes 7th. Excellent lap time from him, quicker than the racing point on the same tyres. Sorry, no, Joe set that time on medium tyres. He's going out again on soft. So there's still a good effort from Anthony Bauer. And Gregor goes fastest. On the 4th lap on those tyres, he's gone out on the same tyres as he used in Q1. So obviously saving the tyres maybe for the race, maybe for Q3, trying to do an extra run there. But that is an excellent lap time on those tyres there for Gregor. Fastest for Red Bull, a 1:10.0. Here is Dean Harrison in the Mercedes. He now goes fastest on those medium tyres, a 1:9.4. And you've got to say, that's a very ominous sign for the Ferraris. Unless they were sandbagging in that first run, those Mercedes nearly a second quicker on the same tyres. So that could be quite an ominous sign for the race for those two Ferraris. Don't forget, Callum needs to outscore Stephen by 7 points to keep the World Championship alive going into Abu Dhabi. But with that kind of pace, it's going to be very, very difficult. So, here is Ant Waddington in the Toro Rosso. He is on his out lap. Let's see if I can find someone who's on their timed lap. This is Jamie Callan. He's set a lap time. He's gone 9th. So top 10 currently. Dean Harrison is fastest from Gregor Telford in the Red Bull. Callum Harrod is 3rd. Arthur Bowler is 4th for Renault. Good effort again from him in that Renault. Matt Anderson is 5th. Kieran is 6th. Devon Little is 7th. Jamie Keats is 8th. Gone back out again. Also on the original tyres from Q1. So that's an interesting move as well. Jamie Callan in the McLaren is 9th. And Anthony Bauer, another fine effort from him, is 10th in the Williams. Outside the top 10 at the moment, we have Joe Newman, Jimmy in the Haas, Andrew in the McLaren. Those are the cars that set a lap time. Ant Waddington and Stephen Harrison yet to set a lap time. Ant is on the track at the moment. Stephen, we've seen this a few times from him. He's leaving it late. Looks like he's on the medium tyres as well. Now we saw at the previous race that didn't work for Dean Harrison. Made too many mistakes on his lap, and he failed to get through to Q3. So hopefully that won't happen again for the Mercedes of Stephen. It's such an important race for him as well, where of course, like I said, he can wrap up the championship. So hopefully it won't happen for him. Anthony Bauer going back out. Joe Newman, excellent lap time from him as well in the Racing Point. He moves up into 3rd place at 1:10.073. Fraction slower than the Red Bull on the same tyres. So good effort from him. Arthur Bowler going out again as well. Ant Waddington goes up to 4th. But look how close it is there. Between 1st and 9th, there is less than half a second. That is how close it is. And it shows what a competitive league we have as well. It's great to see this. All the drivers pushing so hard. So great effort from Joe Newman and Ant Waddington in those two midfield cars, getting them up to 3rd and 4th on the grid. Don't be surprised to see Kieran going out again. He's in 8th at the moment in the Ferrari, getting dangerously close to that drop zone. So currently in that bottom 5, we have Jamie Callan. That's a bit of a surprise. He's going back out again on a fresh set of soft tyres. Anthony Bauer in the Williams, still a great effort from him to be where he is in 12th place. Jimmy in the Haas, Andrew in the other McLaren. So expect to see him out. And Stephen Harrison yet to set a lap time, but he is now on track. Here he is, about to start his first flying lap of the session. We've got 4 minutes to go, so leaving it fairly late, but at least there is enough time if he does make a mistake on this lap or drifts a little bit wide and gets the lap disallowed. He has got enough time to do another lap if he has the fuel on board. Down to the end of that straight, into Subida do Lago. Through turn 5, just an acceleration zone these days. Another fearsome corner when this track was first redesigned. Through Ferradura. That is a scary corner for a lot of drivers, especially in the wet. Into that first slow right-hander. This has been Herino. Accelerate hard out of there, down to Bico de Pato, or the duckbill. Then Mogullo, easy flat. Again, that Mercedes looking like it's handling very, very nicely there. Through Yun Cao. And back on to this start-finish section. Through these long left-handers. And look out for those left-handers there in the rain. If it does happen in the race, they will be so treacherous. And Stephen goes second. A couple of tenths slower than his teammate. Good effort. That will see him safely through. So Jamie Keats, interestingly, is still on those original tyres from Q1. So he obviously feels he's got a lot more speed in that car still to come. As he comes through to the end of the second sector, and he currently is about half a tenth up That's not enough at the moment. He's got to find 2/10 as Callum goes fastest on a set of soft tyres. So Callum putting the marker down, a 1:09.1, the fastest lap of qualifying as a whole so far. Jamie Keats moves up to 10th on a 1:10.4. So good effort from him as well on tyres that have done that many laps. But of course, if he does get through here, he's going to have to start the race with tyres that have already done 6 laps. So bit of a gamble there for him. Here is Anthony Bauer. He's gone into the pits. He did improve his lap time. He's 11th at the moment. I don't think... Well, he might just have enough time to get another set of tyres on and go back out. Here is Jamie Callan in the McLaren. And he's abandoned this lap, so he must have had this lap disallowed. I was just about to ride on board with him, but this lap's been disallowed. Here is Jimmy, also on a set of worn tyres, slightly worn tyres. Done 3 laps on these tyres, so clearly feels there's a bit more speed to come. He needs to find about half a second to get into the top 10. Currently in the bottom 5 is Jamie Keats in the Toro Rosso. Anthony Bauer, who's in the pits, might just be able to get out. No, I don't think he will, unfortunately. So he looks like he's out of qualifying. Devon Little in the Red Bull. Surprising from him, he had good pace in Q1. Jamie Callan likewise as well in the McLaren. And Jimmy in the Haas. That is the bottom 5 at the moment. But Jamie Callan now winding up for another lap. There's a Renault behind him. That's Arthur Bowler. He is 7th at the moment. Felt the need to go back. And he goes up to 2nd. What a lap time from Arthur in the Renault, again showing what speed he's got. Hauling that Renault up to 2nd place, a 1:09.2. Definitely a dark horse for me, I'd say, for Q3 to get into those top 2 rows. Excellent lap time. 1:09.2 from him as Jamie Callan now on his lap. If this is his last chance, 30 seconds of the session to go. Kieran's on an out lap as well. I said I expect to see him out, and he has gone out. Brand new set of soft tyres. So he is 9th at the moment, but it's so tight in that little group. There's between 8th place, which is Matt Anderson, who's also out on track, and Devon Little in 13th place. There is a 10th and a half. It's that tight. One error here could mean you're out of qualifying. So that's it. The time is up. Any drivers on the lap can complete it. Let's see who can. This is Jamie Callan coming through to complete his lap. He's 14th at the moment. Needs to find about half a second. Should have enough speed. He goes up to 8th. Good effort. He's through at the moment. So Kieran now on the bubble. As Matt Anderson moves up to 7th. So who else is on lap? This is Devon Little. Is he improving? No, he's not. So Kieran will probably abandon this lap now because no one else can get through. So don't be surprised. We've seen Callum do this a few times where he has gone out, worried he won't make it through, and then abandoned the lap when he realised he will, because it is important for them around here, especially if there is rain in the air, for them to be able to start on those medium tyres. It does look like Kieran is completing the lap, so let's see what he can do. Of course, Callum is on those soft tyres one. Yes, Kieran right at the end abandoned the lap there, so he will start the race on those soft tyres, on medium tyres, sorry. His teammate is starting on soft tyres. So split strategies for the Ferraris. That's an interesting one, definitely. So there we see the bottom 5. Andrew in the McLaren. Surprising from him. He's had such good pace so many times this season. Jamie Keats likewise. He's going to start 12th on the grid. Anthony Bauer. Excellent effort to get the Williams into Q2 in the first place. And he starts 13th ahead of a Red Bull. Devon Little qualifies 14th. Jimmy 15th for Haas. There is the top 10. Callum from Arthur Bowler, what an effort from him. The 2 Mercedes 3rd and 4th. Gregor 5th for Red Bull. Joe Newman 6th. Matt Anderson 7th. And Waddington 8th. Jamie Callan just made it through in the other McLaren. Likewise, Kieran in the Ferrari just scraped through to Q3. So, into Q3. Again, very quickly for those that don't know. Another 3 minutes comes off the time here, so we're down to 12 minutes. But round here, that's still enough to do at least 2 runs, possibly even a third if you go out early enough. And we've seen a few drivers conserving tyres, so maybe that's what they're going for. 12 minutes here. They each get given an extra set of tyres as well for making it through to Q3. And this is the ultimate speed of the cars. Minimal fuel, soft tyres, the quickest laps you'll see at any point this weekend. Qualifying lap record round here, which was set last year by, this season, by Max Verstappen, if I can very quickly find it, was a 1 minute 7.508. We haven't seen any lap times close to that yet, so I'm not sure that's in danger. But let's see how fast they can go. It will be interesting to see just how quick they can go in this session, and we really will see who has been not exactly pushing to the limit so far in the qualifying. The 2 Ferraris are very close together on track. That's Callum and Kieran. Maybe they could be trying to give each other a tow. We've seen them do that a few times. So that's an interesting strategy there, because there's not many long straights around here, so they wouldn't necessarily need the slipstream. It's not like Monza. He's quite high up in the mountains here. So, and that's Kieran off the track at Yun Cao. So pushing a little bit too hard, that's Callum, sorry. Callum made a mistake there coming out of Yun Cao. So that's this lap immediately ruined. So, well, pushing very, very hard. And he's made a mistake already. The pressure's getting to him maybe a little bit. He knows he's got to race well here. And Callum straight back in the pits. And likewise, Arthur Bowler as well coming straight back in the pits. Here is Joe Newman in the racing point. Good pace from him in Q2. Once again making it through to Q3. We've seen that from him a few times this season. Let's see who's close to finishing their lap. Here is Kieran in the Ferrari. So good to see Kieran in the lead again. Let's see how he gets on. Matt Anderson also on it, looking like a good lap as well. But it looks like Kieran's going to be the first one to sell a lap time. So he comes round Yun Cao. Got a good exit there as well. Really good slingshot along this final section. And as always, I was as right as always. Joe Newman's the first one to set a lap time. A 1 minute 9.9. As Kieran goes fastest, a 1:9.8. So he went a little bit quicker than that in Q1. So I don't think that's the ultimate speed of that Ferrari. Didn't see any errors on the half the lap that I saw, as Gregor goes third and immediately Jamie Callan goes third in a 1:10.3. Matt Anderson's had his lap disallowed. Stephen's gone straight out as well very early on. So it definitely looks like they're going for 2 runs here. Here is Dean. He had his first lap disallowed. And it looks like he might be abandoning this lap. There's a lot of traffic ahead of him. So he, I think, has abandoned this lap as well. So he'll be straight back in the pits. And Waddington leaving the pits as well. Right, let's ride on board with our champion-elect, Stephen Harrison, through turn 3. Absolutely flat, up to over 200 miles an hour here with the DRS open. About 205 miles an hour. Then hard on the brakes in turn 4. Nice bit of curve there. And a nice exit as well. Easy flat through turn 5, up to about 190 miles an hour on the run up to Ferradura. Flick down a couple of gears, 130 miles an hour through the apex. Back on the power as hard as you can. Brake hard with a slow right-hander, 55 miles an hour. Second gear, this is third gear, 65 on the apex, and get on the power as soon as you can. Easy acceleration zone, brake hard for the duckbill. This is 50 miles an hour, slowest corner on the circuit. In second gear, Mergullo, acceleration zone now, absolutely flat. Then into Yun Cao, fourth gear, third gear even, 75 miles an hour on the apex. Very important corner, as it gives you the slingshot all the way up to the start-finish line here. Stephen Harrison comes through to complete his lap, taking the line of least resistance, and he goes fastest. on a 1:8.6. His teammate has gone second. He was quickest for a while on a 1:8.9. They're nearly a second quicker. In fact, Stephen is over a second quicker, 1.2 seconds quicker than the nearest non-Mercedes. That is just dominance we haven't seen for a few years now. Here is Callum, back out again. Can he get anywhere near those Mercedes? Of course, he raced for Mercedes, was champion for Mercedes last season. He does split them. He goes up to second, 1:8.7. That's a good lap from him. So he could possibly run them close in the race. I mean, we saw the medium tyres. The Mercedes was so much quicker. Because unless Callum was just holding back a little bit in Q2, it does look as if on the longer runs the Ferraris are stronger. As Arthur Bowler, what an effort from him. He goes up to 4th in the Renault, and Waddington moves up to 5th on a 1:9.7. Great laps from those two. Kieran down to 6th. He will be back out again. Gregor is currently, it's a top 10 at the moment as it stands. It's Stephen from Callum, the two championship contenders on the front row together at the moment as it stands. What a prospect for the race. Dean is 3rd. Great backup for his teammate. Callum needs his teammate up there helping him out for this race. Arthur Bowler, another brilliant effort from him. He's currently 4th for the Renault team. Ant Waddington is 5th for Toro Rosso. Also a great effort from him. Kieran is currently 6th, back on row 3. Joe Newman is 7th for Racing Point. Jamie Callan is 8th for McLaren. Gregor Telford is 9th. Here he is still going round on the original set of tyres from this session. Surely he'll pit in now and get a new set on with 5 minutes to go. And Matt Anderson is 10th for Alfa Romeo. So that is your grid order at the moment. But like I said, we've got 5 minutes to go. And it could be all change. We've seen it change last minute so many times this season. And it could be about to happen again. And what a prospect. Everyone's in the pits. Now, Joe Newman's just left. So Joe Newman deciding to try and beat the traffic. And get out there early for his second run. We've got 4.5 minutes to go. Good effort from Joe again. Like I said earlier, always seems to get himself into Q3. And he's done it again, and he's currently in 7th place on the grid, and only a fraction slower than the Ferrari of Kieran. But I think there is more to come from Kieran, because he's over a second slower than his teammate. And based on previous form, he should be a lot closer than that. So Joe Newman. And also, Matt Anderson has gone out early, and Jamie Callan. So, this kind of backs up my theory. Maybe some of them are going to go for 3 runs here. There's just about enough time in this session if they get out quick enough. Joe Newman starts his second flying lap here in Q3. Down this back straight, going down the middle of the track. No, he's backed out of it. He's backed out of it. So clearly wasn't happy with the first chicane. And he's backed out of his lap immediately. So here is Matt Anderson. Good to have him in the league regularly now. Was in Extreme League for quite a lot of the time this season. So it's good to see him get promoted to the Talk of the Devil League. Kieran going out as well in the Ferrari. So here is Matt Anderson, Alfa Romeo. Again, also an excellent effort from him to get the Alfa Romeo into Q3. And he's a fraction up in the first sector. He's about 2 tenths behind Gregor. But Gregor went out on worn tyres, so I think there will be more to come from him. Through Ferragura, that Alfa Romeo looking good there. Turns in nicely to the corners, definitely. Through Pinheirino. Again, that Alfa Romeo looking very stable there on the exit of the corners. We've seen a few cars oversteer under acceleration out of these corners, but he's got that car well set up into Yun Cao. And let's see how it is. A little bit of curve on the exit. That's just about perfect for him there. Let's see how this lap is. There's a DRS now open on the run down to the line. He's 10th at the moment. Can he improve? He does. He moves up to 8th. Good effort from him there. Up into 8th place goes Matt Anderson. Here is Kieran on his 2nd lap in the Ferrari. I don't think he's still pushing it as hard as he might. Arthur Bowler also starting another lap. What a qualifying it's been for him so far. Up in 4th place. And he's been there or thereabouts through the whole sessions, hasn't he? All 3 sessions. Nibbling away at the top 2 teams. Could be a thorn in their side in the race, definitely. So, Kieran coming through to complete his lap. I'm not sure if this is his out lap or his first flying lap. I think it might be his out lap. Let's have a look. Yes, it was his out lap, I believe. So Jamie Callan again has backed out of this lap as well. So it's not quite going to plan here for Jamie. Still a good grid slot in 7th place, but we've seen him a little bit further up the grid at previous races. Again, with that Renault engine in the back of the McLaren, lacking a little bit of power, perhaps. And it's very easy, of course, to just take a little bit of wing off to try and get a little bit more straight line speed. But then you end up with a very twitchy car through this middle section. Very technical. Let's have a look how Greg is doing. He is 3/10 up on his previous best in the middle sector. Needs to find about 4/10 though to move up from where he is at the moment, which is 10th position. Let's see how he gets on the run to the line. If he got a good exit, he could do it. And he, not quite, but still a good lap, 1:10.1. And look at how close that midfield is. Only half a second off of being on the front, on the 2nd row of the grid. So still an excellent effort from him. Does he have enough fuel to do another lap though? That's the other question there. Kieran didn't improve his lap time, only a fraction off. Does he have enough fuel? No, I don't think he does. Qualifying's coming to an end. Stephen feels very confident, as does Dean, because they haven't gone out of the pits again. Callum, if he can find a 10th and a half, he could just snatch pole away from Stephen here. He's a fraction, he's about 10th down in the 1st sector, but this is where a lot of the time is made up through these sweeps in the middle sector. Can he improve and snatch pole position away from Stephen? That would be a great psychological battle to win here in the fight for the championship, as he fights to keep his championship alive. Of course, he won the championship last season, so the defending champion here wanting to keep the World Championship fight alive. He's half a 10th up. It's possible here. Let's see. It's all about this run to the line now. Here comes Callum in the Ferrari. Can he snatch pole position from Stephen? It's going to be close. He crosses the line. And he does, just. What a lap time from Callum right at the end. He snatches pole position away from Stephen by 2/100ths of a second. How close do you like it there? That was absolutely brilliant by Callum, and puts a marker down for the race, most definitely. What a lap time from him. His teammate failed to improve from 6th, but Callum right at the end takes pole position, and it means as well, of course, he starts on the clean side of the track, which is going to be so important in the race tomorrow. The left-hand side of the grid, as the drivers look at it, is such a dirty line there. It's going to be very, very difficult for those drivers starting on the left-hand side. But there is your grid. Callum and Stephen on the front row, separated by a fraction. Dean menacing there in 3rd place. He's got good race pace, I think, in that Mercedes. Arthur, an excellent effort from him in 4th. Ant Waddington 5th. Kieran 6th in the Ferrari. I think he will be a little bit disappointed with that. Jamie Callan 7th in the McLaren. Joe Newman, good effort as well to get the racing point into the top 10. He qualifies 8th. Matt Anderson 9th for Alfa Romeo. And Gregor Telford qualifies in 10th position. So what a qualifying we've had. And I think it's going to be a good race as well. We have a few minutes break now, so I will see you for the introduction to the race. I will see you again in a few minutes. So welcome everyone to the Brazilian Grand Prix here in Brazil, the largest country in South America. It's the 5th largest in the world in terms of land mass, and it's 6th largest in terms of population as well. It's got a long history as Brazil in Formula 1. It first joined Canada back in 1973 at the original layout of the Interlagos circuit. It was nearly 5 miles in length. In 1978, the track then moved to Jacarepaguá in Rio de Janeiro, which interestingly was recently demolished to make way for one of the football stadiums for the World Cup back in 2014. Interlagos in the 80s was rebuilt, reprofiled to its current 2.67 miles, and the race returned there in 1990, especially with the popularity of Ayrton Senna, who grew up not far away, and the drivers absolutely loved this circuit. As I said in qualifying, it's an old-fashioned circuit, narrow, grass and gravel on the edge of the circuit, so it's a real challenge for the drivers. Alain Prost is the most successful driver in history here. He's had 6 wins in Brazil, and McLaren is the most successful team in history here. They've had 12 wins over the years. Look out for the 2 DRS zones on the circuit. We have one along the main straight, starts just before the pit entry and runs right up to turn 1. And then between turns 3 and 4, just on the exit of turn 3, and it runs to the braking point of turn 4. 71 laps. Look out for the action zones as well around the circuit. Turn 1 mainly at the start and down into turn 4. And I'll very quickly do the lap record through the race. The race is about to start. Lights are coming on, and they're doing a formation lap as well. This is something we're trialling here this weekend on Talk of the Devil. They're trialling the formation lap to the grid. So we see this in real life, of course. The drivers set off, warm up their tyres as much as they can, and then get ready for the race. And we can see Callum doing that. Just to run through the grid for you, Callum on pole position from Stephen, Dean 3rd, excellent effort from Arthur Bowler 4th in the Renault, Ant Waddington 5th for Toro Rosso, Kieran in the 2nd Ferrari lines up 6th, Jamie Callan in the McLaren is 7th ahead of Joe Newman, Matt Anderson is 9th for Alfa Romeo, good effort from him as well to get onto row 5, Gregor Telford for Red Bull is 10th, Andrew in the 2nd McLaren is 11th, Jamie Keats 12th. And to run through the rest of the grid very quickly, Anthony Barr is 13th, Bevan is 14th for Red Bull, Jimmy 15th for Haas, Dan in the 2nd Renault 16th, a little bit disappointed I think Dan would have been there. 17th is the newcomer to the lead, Jack in the Haas. In 18th place is the Williams of Luke. Michael Booker had a qualifying ban, he lines up 19th. Gareth, very unlucky incident for him, he got a 5-place grid penalty, so he was 17th there initially. He gets dropped to the back of the grid. And also for any viewer listening, I will be keeping an eye on the chat on Twitch, so if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the chat bar on Twitch, and I will get to as many as I can, and I'll answer as many questions as I can. So the grid is lining back up. So very strict rules as well, of course, with the formation lap. You've got to keep close enough to the car behind, or they can get a penalty if they drop too far back. And of course, Callum won't want to be sitting at the front of the grid too much, because his tyres will go extremely cold if he does. So here we go. The grid is formed. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Lights out. Away we go. Good start there from Callum. And look at the Renault they're going through. Steve has had a bit of a slow start, but he just about hangs on to 2nd. Callum, excellent start from him. Absolutely dream start. As Dean did take 2nd, he lets his teammate go. In fact, he slipped behind the Renault there as well. But fantastic start from Callum. Look at the lead he's already got. And look at Arthur Bowler there, trying to go up the inside of Stephen into turn 4. And he's pushed him wide. And he's done it. Great move there from Arthur. He's up into 2nd place. That's going to please Callum there. And Ant Waddington as well getting involved. He's going around the outside of Ferradura. That's going to be a brave move around the outside of Dean. but just about hangs on. Dean's still got the inside line, and I think he might just hold on to that. But Callum, what a start, and Dean's wheel to wheel. Great respect between these two. They're not taking each other off, and I think has had to concede that. So Dean back into 4th place. Jamie Callan a good start as well. Van hasn't given up on this, but he has to now as they line up through Yun Cao for the end of lap 1. Don't forget the weather forecast we had as well. Rain about halfway through this race. Look out for that. That could change everything. But Callum will be delighted with that. What a start to the race. Nearly 2-second lead at the end of lap 1. Fantastic start from him. And still Dean and Ant Wellington going at it in the battle for 4th. Ant hasn't given up on that yet. And Dean is losing a lot of time. He needs to be getting up there and helping his teammate out with Arthur Bowler in 2nd place. He needs to be getting involved there. Oh, Joe Newman a little bit wide. And just about hangs on. Kira's not had a good start. He's dropped from 6th to 9th, but don't forget he's on those medium tyres. So less bite off the start. But look at Callum's lead already. He will be delighted to see that it's a Renault behind him. DRS will be activated at the end of the 2nd lap, of course. So that will probably help Stephen pass that Renault, which will be a little bit down on power. Oh, Stephen a little bit wide there coming out of Bico to Pato. That's going to set him up badly for the run down to Yun Cao. Dean a little bit wide out of Mergullo as well. But I think Arthur has got that car well set up. So he was still hitting over 200 miles an hour in qualifying, which is close to what the Mercedes are doing. So I think he's got a low downforce setup. It may not be as straightforward as you initially think there. Callum, at the end of the 2nd lap, has a 3-second lead. What a dream start to this race he has had, as Dean gets a penalty in 4th place. So he's trying to break away from Ant Wellington with DRS now active. He knows he's going to come under a lot of pressure from that Toro Rosso. Look at that train of cars there behind Dean as well. We've got Joe Newman, Jamie Callan, Matt Anderson in there, Kieran in the 2nd Ferrari, Gregor, Jamie Keats and Anthony Bauer all line astern there. So that could be a great fight as the race goes on. But Stephen now knows he's got to get past that Renault as quick as possible before Callum gets too far away, because at the moment Callum looks about a 2nd a lap quicker than the Renault, which is about right on pace with those 2 cars. So Stephen now will be trying to get a good exit here out of Yun Cao on the run down to the long run down to turn 1. DRS zone is halfway down this section of track, so that will give him a lot more straight line speed. Arthur goes to the inside. There's nothing he can wait. Look at the straight line speed of that Renault. He has got it set up well. Brakes a little bit late, runs wide, gives Stephen the outside line into turn 2. What a brave move there by Stephen with the championship at stake. He hung it out round the outside of turn 2, and he's made it stick, and he moves into 2nd place. But Callum now has got a 4-second lead out front. So dream start. He'll be a little bit disappointed to see Stephen in 2nd place, but how well did that Renault hang on down the straight, even with the DRS zone. And the DRS wide open on that Mercedes. He only just made it through and didn't seem to have too much more straight line speed. So if Arthur can hang on, I said in qualifying, didn't I, he's going to be a thorn in the side of the front runners, and so it's proving at the moment. He's up into 3rd place. He qualified 4th, was 2nd briefly, and he's still ahead of the other Mercedes, which is now starting to come back at him, of Dean, who's finally getting a bit of a gap over Ant Wellington. There's a good fight going on here as well for 6th place. This is Jamie Callan, Joe Newman, Matt Anderson, Kieran, Gregor, Jamie, Anthony Bauer, all with DRS active on Jamie Callan. So they're going to be getting close. Look at this. Joe Newman, Matt Anderson, very, very close down to the 1st chicane. Joe just about hung on to the inside line. Matt had to back out of that one. That could have just upset his rhythm a little bit, but I don't think Kieran's close enough to capitalise on that. As Jimmy gets a penalty, he is running 15th at the moment. And Joe Newman is having a look at Jamie Callan around the outside. That is brave as well. And I don't think Jamie was expecting that. I certainly wasn't. He looked too far back coming out of turn 3. So very brave move there by Joe Newman. There's a yellow flag in sector 1 and 2. Not quite sure who that is. Let's have a look if I can find out. Because that'll be a little bit further up the road. Has Callum made a mistake? I don't think so. Still got a 4-second lead, but Stephen is now starting to eat into that. It's taken about half a second out of him so far on this lap. Another penalty for Dean, running 4th. That was just running wide out of Murgullo. A little bit harsh, that penalty there. He's in the dirty air of the Renault ahead of him, so it's very easy to understeer in that corner. And of course, full tanks of fuel as well to get through the entire race. So very, very easy this early stage of the race to understeer off when you're close behind another car. But Arthur hanging on nicely as Jamie Callum, look at this, around the outside of the first chicane, and he's made it stick. Great move there on Joe Newman to retake that 6th place. These two are fighting tooth and nail for what is 6th position at the moment, and Joe Newman's coming back at him once again. He's got good straight line speed in that racing point, and he passes him again down into turn 4. As Kieran has got past Matt Anderson, who I think ran a little bit wide in turn 4. He's lost a bit of momentum because Gregor's slipped past him as well. We got 2 cars in the pits. That's Devon and Jack have pitted. I think Luke pitted very early on as well. I'm just going to try and see if he did stop. No, he hasn't stopped yet. So I think he could have been the reason there was a yellow flag early on, because he's a long way back there at the back of the field in the Williams. The other Williams, meanwhile, by the way, is up in 12th place, so he's at the back end of this battle. Andrew has now joined the party as well in the other McLaren. Oh, a big slide there from, I think that was Anthony Bauer. No, it wasn't the Alfa Romeo. The big slide coming out of Ian Cow. But look at this lot. This is like kart racing. All these cars so close together. There is the battle for 3rd place now between Arthur Bowler and Dean Harrison. Dean wants to get past that Renault as quick as possible to help his teammate start to apply some pressure. Callum has done well. The gap is out to 5 seconds. Don't forget though, Callum on the soft tyres, Stephen on the medium tyres. So, bit of a split strategy there. So Callum does need to get away as quick as he can. But what, look at this lot. This is fantastic. Gregor here in 9th place, having a look at Kieran. He's also got past Matt Anderson, of course. We saw that mistake. Excuse me. Anthony Bauer also very close up behind Jamie Keats. Here we go in Toro Rosso. This is for 11th place. And just behind them is Andrew, and also now joined is Dan in the 2nd Renault. He has now joined the back of this fight as well. Michael Booker from the back has made a good start. He's up to 15th position, and he has got Jimmy for company. Gareth not too far behind either. I'm not sure if the Williams of Luke actually managed to start the race, unfortunately, as he is showing last and hasn't done any laps, so I don't think he's managed to start the race, which is a shame for him. So Callum's lead is now 5 seconds. Penalty for Gregor. This is such a great fight in the midfield. This reminds me of the old days at Hockenheim here, where they all used to slipstream each other down the long straights. No one's getting away from anyone else, and that was brave by Jamie around the outside. Can he just about keep it on the track? Yes, he does. Very, very brave late braking from Jamie Cannon as he retakes 6th position. Little bit of a gap now between these 3 and Gregor in 9th place. I think he made a mistake toward the end of the lap. But the way this lot are, yes, Gregor already closing that gap back down again. So this is the fight between 6th and 14th are all in this battle. What driving by the lot of them. So far there's been no contact between any of the cars, and there's been a lot of overtaking go along. Dean, meanwhile, in 4th place, is really starting to put the pressure on Arthur Bowler. How long can Arthur hang on in 3rd place? He's going defensive down the inside. Dean's going to have to take to the outside. That Renault's got tremendous straight line speed. Oh, Dean spun it! Dean spun it! Dean has made a mistake. We saw this in Singapore. Does seem to struggle a little bit in close wheel-to-wheel action with other cars, and Dean spun it in turn 1. I think there was a little bit of contact with the Renault, and he was round the outside, and he's now slipped behind Ant Waddington as well. So Dean there trying to help his teammate out, get past that Renault, and he's ended up spinning. Recovered quite quickly though, only lost 1 position, but he'll be gutted with that. Dean also on those medium tyres as well, so maybe that's how the Renault's got a bit of a traction advantage on him. But now, Ant Waddington will have Dean very, very close behind him. Callum, meanwhile, at the front, the lead is out to 5.5 seconds. Not pulling away maybe as quickly as he would have liked. We saw the Mercedes in Q2 have brilliant pace on those medium tyres, and it's coming through again here. Be interesting to see how long they can make those tyres last, especially if the rain comes and they can make those tyres last to the rain. They could potentially save themselves a pit stop, which is worth a lot of time. Very long pit lane here. It's about 25 seconds for a stop. So imagine having that saved from your race. Will really, really help you. So look out for some of those cars down near the back of the field. Jamie Keats could be one, starting on those medium tyres. If he can nurse those tyres to the rain, it could be very, very good for him and really get some strong points in that Toro Rosso. Andrew in the McLaren just got past Anthony Bauer to move into 12th place, and Dan too has also pounced on that. This is what can happen when you've got cars so close together like this. One car manages to get past the other one, the second car loses momentum, and then another car pounces. They are line astern here. It's absolutely great to watch. Jamie trying to make a bit of a break of it now over Joe Newman, and is just about succeeding. He is 6th, it's about the 6th place, and Jamie Cullen trying to get a bit of a gap. He's just broken the DRS zone. Joe didn't have a great first section. Kieran getting very, very close there. Almost did what Lewis Hamilton did to Alex Albon at that corner this year in the race. Nearly touched the back tyre of that Racing Point and spun it round Joe a little bit wide in New Macau. That would give Kieran a good run. Let's see if we can watch this overtake on board with Kieran if he's close enough. He certainly is, getting a good slipstream, a good toe on the run down to turn 1. Joe not going defensive, Kieran not quite close enough. And Kieran's made a bit of a mistake in that corner as well. I think he just touched the back of that Racing Point and it unsettled his car. Held onto it nicely though, he does get a penalty. I think, again, a little bit harsh because I think he was sliding at the time, so not a lot he could do about it. So, race order, Callum, and there's a yellow flag in sector 2. Let's see who that is. It's Dean again, and Dean, I think, has had contact with... Or Jamie's off there as well. Not quite sure what's going on, and there's a Williams in there as well. That's Anthony Bauer. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but Jamie and Dean and Anthony Bauer have all fallen down the grid. So, wow. So Dean not having a good start to this race. He slipped down to 4th at the start, and now we've seen him have 2 spins. So, Dean now has dropped to 16th position. Is there any damage on that Mercedes? I haven't been able to have a look. I think there's a little bit on that front wing, so we may be having to pit as well. So, disastrous start to the race. So, that's Anthony Bauer getting past Jimmy to move up to 14th. He got involved in that as well. And yes, Dean does have to pit. So it goes from bad to worse for Dean in the second Mercedes. He's going to fall certainly behind Gareth, who's just got past him, and maybe even Devon in the Red Bull, who's quite a way down. So race order now. Callum leads by 7 seconds from Stephen Harrison. Arthur is still driving a brilliant race. He's in 3rd place in the Renault. Ant Waddington now is up to 4th. Joe Newman is 5th with Kieran right behind him. Gregor is 7th in the Red Bull right behind that. Right behind that is Matt Anderson in the Alfa Romeo. Jamie Keats is there as well. He's in 9th place. Andrew not far behind that in 10th place in the McLaren. And then Dan is there as well in the 2nd Renault in 11th place. Jamie Callum now will be on a bit of a fight back. He's in 12th in the 2nd McLaren. Michael Booker keep himself out of trouble as he often does in the race. He's up to 13th now. So keep an eye out for him. It'd be good to see him. It'd be a good drive from him to get back into the points, having started in 19th position. So, lap 13. Going so quickly this race already. Still this lot line astern. This is now the battle for 5th place with Joe Newman at the head of it. Great, got to say, good drive from Joe here under a lot of pressure from those cars behind. and he's keeping them behind him. So meanwhile, the lead now of Callum is out to 8 seconds. So good driving here from Callum. Good first stint. 8-second lead. And Arthur still hanging on well. He's 4.5 seconds behind Stephen now, but he's pulling away from Ant Waddington in the Toro Rosso behind him. He's nearly 7 seconds clear of him. So great first stint as well from Arthur on those soft tyres. So it's settled down a little bit. This lot's still very, very close together. This is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th. And Andrew's starting to close the gap down a little bit as well in 10th behind them. And Dan is being dragged along as well in 12th position. So that lot, I think, are going to be close all the way through. We've already seen a bit of contact with some of them. It is inevitable when you race this close. One mistake from one driver, or a little bit too early on the brakes from one of them, and another one can steam into the back of them so quickly here. And of course we saw that in real life here as well. Don't forget 2001, Juan Pablo Montoya led for over half the race here. It looked like he was going to take an easy win after holding Michael Schumacher at bay for so long. Lapped the arrows of Jos Verstappen down on the run to turn 4. Went back ahead of him, misjudged his braking, or braked a little bit earlier than Verstappen was expecting, and Verstappen crashed into the back of him and took him out the race. So I'm trying to find out what happened with Dean there, because I didn't catch it on the stream. I'm just asking the Mercedes manager, Ben, if he can just tell me what happened. He did see what happened with him, and I just asked him to tell me if he can. I invited him for an interview, but he's doing his manager job very well. Very good manager, Ben. So he's working hard with his drivers at the moment, so he can't join me for an interview. But I'm going to try and get him to just quickly tell me what happened so I can relay it to you guys. But meanwhile, Callum still pulling away in the lead as Andrew's now dropped down as well. And that... Andrew in the pits. Yes, that's right. Andrew is in the pits in the McLaren. He was running just outside the top 10. And he's decided to get out of the slipstream, maybe avoid some of the trouble, because he's going to have a nice clear track ahead of him, especially if he can get out in front of Devon, which he should just be able to. It's going to be close, but if he can get out in front of Devon, that's really going to help him out, because he's going to have a nice clear track and can push hard. He's gone on to a new set of soft tyres, and he is just ahead of Devon as well. Tricky bit exit there, very slippery. With the wall right there, it's easy. I've seen many a front wing broken on that wall. So, and look at that, just ahead of Devon. So if Andrew can push now, he could find himself ahead of that entire train of cars, which runs right up to 5th place. So good thinking there from McLaren. So here, back to this battle. Joe Newman has got Kieran behind him. Kieran cannot get past that racing point. Gets another penalty, just cut turn 2 a little bit there. And of course, with the corner cutting now on strict, it's very, very sensitive. And actually, this lot here are just starting to reel in. Ant Waddington ahead. We saw the Toro Rosso just ahead. And he's just starting to reel them in. And apparently, Dean and Jamie got together. Dean's admitted responsibility and spun around, and took Jamie off as well. And Dean has got a drive-through for it. So I think that pits, we saw him entering the pits. I think that was for his drive-through. So Dean now 18th position and closing quickly on Devon ahead of him. So unlucky there for Dean. We've seen him have a couple of spins so far in this race, and as a result he's down in 18th position in that Mercedes. So Stephen now, if anything, just starting to close the gap back down to Callum again. Maybe those soft tyres are getting a little bit warm. They've done 16 laps from the start of the race, plus the 3 laps that Callum did in qualifying on them. So about 20 laps, which is getting close to the lifespan of those soft tyres. He's still doing well to get an 8-second lead over Stephen. You saw how quick that Mercedes was on those medium tyres. So good at first stint from him. Still can't get over how well Arthur's driving here in that Renault. In 3rd place. I drove that Renault at the start of the season, and I found it a very difficult car to set up. and get handling nicely. So good effort from him in third. Dan in the other Renault is now pitted. He was running in 13th place, I believe, at the time. So Dan now pits. Brand new set of soft tyres for him as well. And he comes out just behind Dean. So, race order. Callum from Stephen. 8-second lead between them. Arthur third and fourth. Joe Newman fifth. Here we see this ongoing battle here. Joe Newman fifth. Kieran in sixth. Gregor seventh. Matt Anderson eighth in the Alfa Romeo. Jamie Keats ninth. Jamie Cannon's actually dropped back a little bit. I wonder if he's got a little bit of damage from that incident with Dean. But these five or six cars are just definitely reeling in and Waddington ahead of them, who will be desperately trying to stay ahead of them. That is a Haas in front of these guys. That is Jack down in the back of the field, about to be lapped. He's just on that early pit stop that I mentioned earlier for him. He actually put on a set of hard tyres, so he'll be going a long, long way into this race. Those hard tyres, I think about 55 laps they're good for. So he'll be going a very long way into this race, and maybe if he can make them stretch, they could go to when the rain is coming, and it's definitely getting darker. See the clouds forming. It was blue sky and sunshine at the start of this race, and the clouds are definitely forming, so I don't think the rain's going to be too far away. Bits of sunshine there, but a lot of the track now in a lot of shadow. So Joe doing a great job, has to be said, to keep Kieran behind him in that much quicker Ferrari, better handling car, and a little bit more power as well from that Ferrari engine. Rumoured to be the most powerful on the grid now, and about 1,000 horsepower as well, which is an amazing figure for a 1.6 litre car. And Kieran's now trying to go around the outside, but Joe later on the brakes, and that was great defending there from Joe. But Kieran's got a good run out of turn 3. Joe goes back to the racing line very light. Kieran has to swerve to the inside, but I think he's got it done this time. Joe late on the brakes again, trying to hang on around the outside. This is great wheel to wheel, and Kieran has just made it stick. And Kieran finally gets past that racing point into 5th place. He'll be so relieved about that. He's been stuck behind him for at least 10 laps. And Kieran now up to 5th in the Ferrari. How quickly? Oh, a little bit wide there. I thought he was going to lose it immediately there. But can he now close on Ant Waddington ahead of him in the Toro Rosso, doing another fine job in that Toro Rosso. Really does get that car punching well above its weight. We've seen it so many times this season. Always there or thereabouts with a podium, isn't he? Knocking on the door of a podium a few times this season. And he's there again in 4th place at the moment. Callum is pushing on again. He's now out to 9 seconds clear of Stephen. There is Stephen in the Mercedes. As things stand, the World Championship fight would just go to the last race. It's 33 points separating Callum and Stephen at the top of the championship. 26 available after this race, with 25 for the win and 1 for fastest lap. So Callum has to outscore Stephen by 7 points to keep the World Championship alive. And at the moment, he's got fastest lap and he's winning the race. So he's scoring 26 points. Stephen is scoring 18. So it takes the gap to 25. But I spoke to Callum earlier, and even he admits it is a long shot, really. He needs a DNF from Stephen. So, got to say, I mean, I can imagine Stephen's going to have a couple of just measured drives here. Just make sure he gets to the checkered flag. And even if the World Championship does go to the last race, he only has to score 1 or 2 points, which the form he's shown this season. Had 3 DNFs, that's all this season. And when he has finished, his lowest finish has been 6th. So consistently good in that Mercedes. And I believe as well, that 6th place finish was when he had technical issues and couldn't get back into the race as well. And was running 3rd or 4th before that. So such a consistent season from Stephen. We saw this last year from Callum as well when he took the championship. Very, very consistent season. And it does pay off for you here in the World Championship. So Kieran now is at the front of this train. He's in 5th place. And he's coming under pressure from Joe. He's actually dragging Joe and the rest of them with him because they are all closing now on Ant Waddington in 4th place. Ant, I think, is starting to struggle on those tyres. He too qualified on those tyres. He's done about 23 laps in total on those tyres. On lap 21 of the race, at least 3 in Q2. And he's now just 1.5 seconds. Ant will not want to get dragged into this battle at all. He really, really won't. Meanwhile, don't forget Andrew pitted early on another set of soft tyres. He will probably get track position, but he'll definitely have to make another stop if the rain doesn't come, because he's gone onto another set of softs. But he's in 16th position. He's been overtaken by Dean in the Mercedes, which he would have been expecting. But now he's sitting in his slipstream. And look at this. Joe Newman's having a look. Jamie Keats is having a look at... Matt Anderson's pitted. And look at Joe Newman around the outside of the first chicane, and he's hung on, and he's the inside for turn 2, and he gets back past Kieran. Kieran will be so frustrated. He really wants to get away from this battle, and he just cannot do it. The DRS working nice in. Joe, very late move there. Kieran's off. Kieran's off onto the grass, and he's run very, very wide there. Ooh, I don't think we'll be too impressed about that. A very, very late move from Joe down the back straight to defend his position. Kieran had to swerve back onto the racing line. And with the DRS open, it made the car slide off the track altogether. He somehow has hung on to 6 ahead of Gregor. I think Gregor keeping out of this one at the moment. He's just behind them. Jamie Keats was looking at Gregor down into turn 1 as well, but didn't quite make it stick. And with all this battling going on, Jamie Callan, who I said was dropping back a little bit, in 9th place, is actually starting to close the gap. And look who's in 10th. The second racing point of Michael Booker. He is up to 10th. He had a qualifying ban after this in the previous race just before Christmas, and he is up into 10th place. And Kieran now has got back past Joe Newman, and can he make it sit? Yes, he can. Joe went to the inside, couldn't make it sit. Jamie Keats has got past Gregor as well. So Gregor is down to 8th, Jamie up to 7th, and Kieran, well, he'll be hoping he can make a bit of a break now. He's in 5th slot now, slipped to 3 seconds behind Ant Waddington with all the battling going on. So with all this great battle here in the middle of the top 10, we've hardly looked at our race leader. Let's find him now. There he is, just lapped Devon, who's 17th. But Callum driving a very good race. He's now 9.5 seconds clear of Stephen. We'll be thinking about a pit stop soon on lap 24 of the race. Those soft tyres will be definitely worse for wear now. But Callum, as we've seen so often, driving very, very fast, but making no errors at all. I can count on one hand the number of errors I've seen from Callum in the 2 seasons of this league so far. Of course, the big news from the last couple of weeks is that Callum will not be a driver next season. He's going to be one of the team managers. So, well, it's a outside bet that he hangs on to his World Championship, but what a fine driver he's been on track. And I think he will also be an excellent manager, but Callum won't be racing next year, taking over 2 of the teams. And there's a yellow flag, and that's Joe Newman out of the race. Joe Newman has retired from the race. I'm just looking at his car. There he is. Yes, he spun it down into turn 4. Joe Newman. I don't know if there was contact. I'm going to see if I can find him and get him in for a chat here. But Joe Newman has retired for the race. Well, we saw him and Kieran so close. And the inevitable has happened, I'm afraid. I think they have made contact. So, Joe Newman becomes our first retirement. Of course, Luke, I don't think, started. So, we saw him having technical issues in qualifying. So, our first retirement from the race is Joe Newman. And I think he's going to be able to join me for an interview very quickly. Joe, if you can just make sure your audio is included with the broadcast there so the viewers can hear you. I missed it on the stream. What happened, Joe? Joe, can you hear me? Few technical issues at the moment. Hopefully Joe will join me in a second if he can get his headset sorted. But meanwhile, we're going to hear what happened there. But Michael Booker's in the pits, as is Jimmy. So Michael Booker now becomes the sole racing point left in the race, but he's on the fringes of the points. So good recovery drive from him from the back of the grid. Callum now 10.5 seconds clear of Stephen. He's pushing on here. And look at this. Jamie Keats has now got past Kieran. As soon as his main opposition of Joe goes, I think Kieran was thinking he might be able to get away from this group. But now Jamie Keats has made it past him as well. So Jamie Keats up to 5th. The Toro Rosso's running 4th and 5th. Kieran with a great exit. And likewise the Red Bull there. Yes, Jamie's pitting. So decided not to get involved. So Jamie Keats pits, he was up to 5th. So this battle now is going on between Kieran and Gregor, Ferrari and the Red Bull. Gregor with a penalty, we saw that earlier on as well. So a couple of penalties here for Gregor. And Anthony Bauer has got past Jamie. He pitted, no he hasn't pitted, sorry. He got involved in the incident earlier. But interestingly here, Andrew was in that battle early on and pitted early. But he's nowhere near Jamie. He's down in 13th position. 2.5 seconds behind Gareth, who is now up to 12th in the Alfa Romeo. So another good run from Gareth. He started at the back of the grid, of course, after that unfortunate incident in qualifying. And he is up to 12th. Yet to stop, of course, in the Alfa. Started on the soft tyres. But Gareth is one of those drivers. He does keep out of trouble. Gets involved in very few race incidents, and he's always knocking on the door of the point. So many times I look at the race order and he's in that point scoring zone somewhere or not far away, and look at him again, he's only about 7 seconds off the point. So good drive once again by Gareth down there in the Alfa Romeo. Kieran now trying to push on, get a gap over Gregor. This is the battle for 5th position. So Joe is having some problems with the party chat, so I'm just trying to find out from him what actually happened in that incident. So Callum's lead is now up to 11 seconds, and he's 23 seconds clear of Arthur in 3rd place, so almost a pit stop. So great first stint from Callum, almost guaranteed to be in 2nd place when he comes out from his first stop. But again, what a drive from Arthur so far. He's 17 seconds clear of Ant Waddington in 4th place. So he too is getting close to a pit stop clear. They're in 3rd place. He's getting the stranglehold on the podium finish there is Arthur. So stunning drive from him. So a penalty there for Devon. Where is Devon at the moment? He's in 15th position. Trying to close up on Michael Booker, who's made a stop. And Michael is just closing the gap down to Gareth ahead of him, who's yet to stop, of course, in the Alfa Romeo. He is running 13th now. He's got behind Andrew, who's also on the fight back through the field. So, Joe, can you hear me? No, I still can't hear you, mate. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening. Hopefully people can hear me on the stream, but I can't hear you through my headset, mate. I'm very sorry. So, and Stephen gets a penalty. That could be crucial later in the race. If him and Callum do get close together. 3-second penalty for Stephen. Callum yet to have a penalty. They're 11 seconds back, and the rain has started to come down. So this is going to throw a spanner into the works here. The rain is starting to fall. We're on lap 29 of the race. We're getting close to half distance. The lap times are just starting to drop away a little bit. The thing is with it round here is that very rarely have I known it just be like sprinkling in Brazil. Very often when it rains, it really rains hard. If you think back to all the races we've had here in the past, most recent one, of course, that great race in 2016, where Max Verstappen spun on the pit straight and still fought back to finish on the podium with a great drive, and it really poured that day as well. So This is going to upset a few people's strategies, and those who started on soft tyres will be delighted to see the rain now. And I think that could be why a lot of them have stayed out there. Kieran struggling for grip a little bit. Let's see how Callum's coping in the other Ferrari. Well, he's gone through, he's passed the pits to go through for another lap, and he's actually pulling away very quickly from Stephen here. So 13.5 seconds, and Arthur's pitting. So he's decided to pit immediately there in the run-up. Is it intermediates going on? Let's have a look. Yes, it is. So intermediate tyres for Arthur. He's the first car to put on those intermediate tyres. Let's see how he copes. If it goes too early, he will overheat those tyres if there's not enough water on the track. But it does look as if it's coming down quite hard. And Callum is certainly struggling for grip now. Very old tyres is not what you want when the rain's starting to fall. The DRS has been disabled. That's usually the sign that intermediates are the tyres to be on. But Callum, on this lap, from what I can see, has pulled away 3 or 4 seconds from Stephen. And suddenly the Ferrari strategy of starting on those medium tyres is falling apart, because Callum has pulled out a 15-second lead and he's managed to get those soft tyres to last to the first stop. So great first stint from Callum. So surely now everyone's going to be pitting. Yes, look, so many cars in the pit. Stephen pitting. Arthur will make up a bit of time because, of course, he's got this lap on those intermediate tyres, so he will have good grip. We saw Callum and Stephen really struggling for grip on their way into the pits. Gregor's up to 4th in the Red Bull, but he hasn't stopped. And look how close Ant Waddington is. So Gregor trying to make it last a little bit longer on those slicks to try and get track position, and it's not working for him. This is going to cost him a lot of time here for Gregor. It's a brave decision, but it's not worked out for Gregor. So the incident between Kieran and Joe, I've just got a message from Joe on Facebook, and he was saying between turns 1 and 2 they were very, very close. Joe was round the outside coming through turn 3, and Kieran hit his car and spun him into the wall. So there will be discussions about that after the race, I'm sure. Kieran in the Ferrari, it appears, calls the retirement of Joe Newman, and it's a shame because they were having such a good fight there, 5th place. But Kieran now is 5th, and he's caught catching Ant Waddington. So all the cars now are on intermediate tyres. Race order, Callum has got an increased gap of 17.5 seconds now over Stephen. And I've got to say, I think in these conditions, I do fancy Callum to pull away. He's very smooth on the throttle, and that's what you need in these conditions. You don't want to be putting the power down too early. With the damp track, it will cause the back end to slide, and you won't be able to get the power down as much as you want. And in fact, yes, look, Arthur's only 3 seconds behind Stephen. Not sure what's happened to Stephen, but he's lost a lot of time to... Oh, yes, of course, Arthur pitted that lap early. And Arthur was 11-12 seconds behind Stephen before the stop. He's now just 3. So that early stop, only 1 lap, has gained Arthur about 8 or 9 seconds, and he's closing in on the Mercedes of Stephen. We saw them have a great fight at the start of the race when Arthur was up to 2nd, and Arthur's going for it again here. So the other close battle out on track is Ant Waddington's been caught by Kieran in the battle for 4th place. Jamie Callan has benefited from the stops. We saw him after the spin early on outside the top 10. He's now up to 6th. So the pit stops have worked out well for him. And look at this, they're still close together. Gregor, Jamie and Anthony Bauer just a little way down the road. This is 7th, 8th and 9th now. They've been together from the first lap of the race. It's like they're pulling each other along with an invisible piece of string there. They are that close. Dean is up to 10th now in the Mercedes on his recovery drive. He's not far behind this lot either. And he's dragging Matt Anderson with him. Oh, and that's Gregor wide in turn 4. He'll lose a lot of momentum there. Very slippery on the off track there on that painted tarmac. Makes it very, very slippery. The key in these conditions is try and avoid the white lines. Of course, around here you normally attack the curbs around here, but in these conditions you want to be treating them very, very carefully and avoiding them if you can, because it will help your grip. This is the battle for 15th place between Dan in the Renault, who's been up and down the order in this race a few times, and Jimmy now is right behind him in the Haas, and Devon as well. These conditions have been very good for those down the lower end of the field, who did what Arthur did and pitted earlier as the rain got heavier, and it's pulled them back into the race. There is the second Haas there. He is a lap down now, is Jack. So and Jimmy's ahead of Dan. He threw it down the inside of the duck wheel and he's made it stick. So brave move from Jimmy. And has also benefited Gareth. There he is in the Alfa Romeo. He's in 14th place now. He also made his soft tyres last to the rain, and he's benefited hugely. He's up to 14th place. And of course the other thing with the wet conditions is, even if the track dries out, the rule of them having to use both types of tyre compounds, or two types of tyre compound in the race, that rule now goes away because we've got inclement conditions and a wet track. So we saw quite a few cars saving their soft tyres, doing Q1 and Q2 on the same set of tyres. They will now benefit because they will have an extra set of tyres spare for the race if it does dry out later on, which it is forecast to do. So now look at this, Ant Waddington with Kieran trying to go around the outside, and Ant keeping the racing line. You can see the racing line on track there. It's quite wet offline, so it's going to be a brave move from Kieran to make it stick. And he's having another look. Of course, DRS disabled now, so it's pure straight line speed of those cars. The Honda engine in the back of the Toro Rosso, the Ferrari engine in the back of the Works Ferrari. It's between those two. Honda have made such strides in the last 2 years. That engine is so much better than when they first rejoined Formula 1 in 2015. Fernando Alonso very critical of them at the time, but they've really worked hard, and I think that is... And yes, Anthony Bauer's off in the Williams. I'm trying to see where that is. That is turn 3, I believe. That's what I was saying earlier. This track is very, very treacherous in the rain, and we're seeing it again. Anthony Bauer off in turn 3. I'm trying to see if there's any damage to that Williams. I don't think there is. Maybe to the front wing. Yes, there's a lot of damage to the right hand side of that front wing. So he must have had a little bit of contact with the wall. So Anthony Bauer, good qualifying, was running on the fringes of the points, but he's made a mistake in the rain. It's so easy round here. Like we said in qualifying, old style racetrack, the grass and the gravel tracks are so close to the racetrack. A lot of these newer tracks have large runoff areas and the walls are a long way away. It's not the case around here. It's much narrower and the walls are not far off the track. So a very small runoff area, which is mainly grass and gravel, where of course you have zero grip at all. Look at this lot. Dean now with Jamie Keats trying to get through, and Jamie hanging on nicely. This is the battle for 8th place, and Greg is just ahead of them. Dean's got a better run. Jamie was forced onto the curb there. So, but he's defending the inside line very nicely. Dean's going to have to go all the way around the outside. Jamie's hung on nicely. So this battle really hotting up nicely. Greg is getting away now as a result of this. Jamie was pressurising Gregor. We saw that earlier on. As Anthony Bauer does now pit. So dropping behind quite a few cars. He's going to come out in 17th place. But Jamie Keats hanging on nicely, defending very hard from that Mercedes. And that is for 8th and 9th place. Dean on the fight back through the field. We've seen him with a couple of spins and drive-through penalty as well. And Anthony Bauer's on to take medium tyres. Now, is that a mistake? Or is the track drying out? Could that be an inspired call there from the Williams, or is it a mistake because he's on the medium tyres, and I think it is still raining. So it could be a mistake from the Williams team there. Yeah, he's got no grip at all. Crucial error from the team there, and that's going to cost Anthony even more time because he's going to have to make another stop to get the right tyres on. Meanwhile, Callum now leads by 18.5 seconds Stephen has stabilised the gap to Arthur and started pulling away again. Arthur stuck in quite a lot of traffic here. Look at the line of cars he's had to pass. So that's one reason he's lost so much time. He is third, 6.5 seconds back. Ant Waddington has Kieran for company. A yellow flag. I think that's Dean. Let's have a look where. Yes, he's gone off in the battle with Jamie Keats. He dropped behind Matt Anderson, who wasn't far behind those two. So another incident for Dean in this race, and he's lost another position. So Dean now just in the top 10. Andrew just behind him. Having a quiet races, Andrew. Quiet weekend, really. Didn't make it out of Q2, and he's just outside the points at the moment in 11th place. A yellow flag in sector 1. I'll try and find out what that is. And I think that's Kieran. Yes, Kieran off. Kieran and Ant Waddington have made contact down into turn 1. So Kieran, once again, that's the second incident in the race for him. We heard from Joe Newman that there was contact between those two earlier in the race. And another incident for Kieran in the Ferrari. And they've now dropped behind Jamie Callan, who again is having quite a quiet race in that McLaren. Got into the top 10, but we've seen him before challenging the top 2 rows. He was 7th on the grid here. We saw him in a lot of fights early on, and he's now up into 4th place. So good drive from Jamie Callan. He's another one. He does tend to keep out of trouble, doesn't get involved in many incidents or accidents, and always gets a good result because of that. And we're seeing it again. He's up to 4th now. So top 10, Callan leads by 18 seconds from Stephen. Arthur is 3rd. Jamie's up to 4th in the McLaren. And Waddington is 5th. Kieran's 6th now in the Ferrari. Gregor 7th. Jamie Keats is 8th. Matt Anderson is 9th for Alfa Romeo. Just ahead of Dean in the Mercedes. Still trying to do his recovery drive. So if we look at where people started to where they qualified, well, Dean's lost the most. He's lost 6 places, 7 places. He started 3rd. He's now 10th. Greg has had a good race. He started 10th up to 7th. Kieran, we've seen him up and down a few times, but he's where he started in 6th place. Ant Waddington as well started 5th, still 5th, but Jamie Callan started in 7th place, and he's up to 4th after that incident. And now Ant Waddington is pulling away from Kieran. I think there's a little bit of damage there from what I can see on that Ferrari's front wing. And in these conditions, you need a good front end of the car, or else you really, really will struggle. So it may be a case of just waiting until the rain stops. If the rain stops, it looks like it has stopped out there. Can't see any rain falling on the camera that I'm looking at. So it could be a case of just wait till the pit stop, get back onto dry tyres, and then change the front wing, or even increase the front wing angle to give you that, compensate for the lack of grip from a little bit of damage. But it's definitely stopped raining out there, so it was a short shower. The forecast was absolutely bang on. So it won't be too long before we see the cars pitting again. Anthony Bauer is still on those medium tyres, so a little bit too early for him, unfortunately. He's now dropped to 56 seconds behind the nearest competitor. Michael Booker's pitted and put on a set of softs. So let's see how he gets on. He's 12.5 seconds behind Dan in the Renault. So let's see how he gets on. A yellow flag in sector 3. That was a Toro Rosso running very well. That's Jamie Keats, I believe. No, it wasn't. It was Ant Waddington. Running very, very wide in turn 4, getting past the Alpha. Let's have a look. It was Anthony Bauer, I believe, still struggling on those mediums. Michael Booker as well, I saw running off the track as well. He's also gone to the slick tyres. So it's not quite ready yet. And Anthony Bauer's retired from the race. He becomes our 2nd retirement from the race in the Williams. Such a shame. Great qualifying to get into Q2. On the fringes of the points for a long time, but just too early onto those slick tyres. And he's retired from the race. And look at this lot here. This is Devon and Gareth here. Wheel to wheel with Dan. And Gareth is so much more grip there around the outside. That was excellent from Gareth there. hangs on to what is 14th position. Yellow flag in sector 1 as well. We've got cars pitting and going back onto slicks. And Waddington, Jamie are all in the pit. So is Kieran. And Kieran's gone onto a set of inters again. I think that's another pit error from a team. We saw it with Anthony Bauer, I think, earlier, or a little bit early. And Kieran's gone onto another set of inters. So it's not been the greatest of races for Kieran. Can't get up above 6th position. Seen him involved in a couple of incidents, and now he's going to have to make another stop because those inters are going to feel horrible very, very quickly. As Callum pits on lap 41 of the race, can he make those soft tyres last 30 laps is the question here. Stephen's also gone on to softs. Arthur in the pits as well in the Renault. So this time the cars outside the top 3 will benefit because they managed to get onto the slicks a little bit quicker. Jamie Callan running 4th. He's 3 seconds clear of Ant Waddington, who's now 2 seconds clear of Kieran, but we know Kieran's going to have to stop again after that pit error of putting him onto a new set of inters. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out actually, because he's less than a pit stop clear of Gregor, and he's going to be touch and go with Matt Anderson and Dean as well. We're running 8th and 9th, so could be a big error. Dean has gone onto a set of softs. We've got 4 or 5 cars going onto softs. The rest have gone on to medium tyres here. So will they be having to stop again, or can they make the tyres last to the end? Top 3 all onto soft tyres, but those top 3, if my memory serves me right, did save a set of softs from qualifying. So they may be able to just stop again, and they've got a big enough gap over the car in 4th place and enough speed from what I've seen in the race so far to be able to do that as well. Kieran in the pits again, 2nd lap in a row, and this time they make sure they've got the right tyres on, and he comes out in 7th place, just ahead of Dean. So that's going to be an interesting fight. Kieran and Dean in the Ferrari and the Mercedes out of position, you've got to say, in 7th and 8th places. Going to be fighting over that position as well, and Kieran already starting to put pressure onto Gregor ahead of him in the Red Bull. Again, Gregor keeping himself out of trouble when he's up to 6th, qualified in 10th, up to 6th. So Jamie Keats with another penalty. He's now dropped to 10th place. So the pit stops haven't quite worked for him. They have worked for Stephen. He's gained about 4 seconds to Callum. I did see a lot of cars in the pits when Callum pitted, so he may have been held at his box to let a few cars go through, which will have cost him a bit of time. But now there's 13 seconds. All that work Callum did in the first stint is going to really help him now, because he's got a 13-second lead, nearly 14 seconds over that Mercedes behind him. And that could be crucial for him. Don't forget as well, Stephen's got a 3-second penalty to add on to his time as well, which Callum doesn't have. Well, I certainly haven't seen him get a penalty yet. So that could be crucial. I said that could be crucial earlier on when it happened. And there's Kieran getting past Gregor. So Kieran back into 6th place. It's where he's been for the majority of the race. He's now got a 20-second gap over up to Ant Waddington ahead of him, who we saw have an incident with earlier on in the race. So can he close that gap? He's on the soft tyres. Ant's definitely going to the end. He's on the mediums. Likewise, Jamie Callan, and those two are getting closer as well. Ant is starting to close on Jamie in the battle for 4th place. So still a lot of battles to happen. Stephen just about chipping away at the lead here of Callum. That could be a great battle at the end. And of course, it could decide the championship if those two have a big fight toward the end of the race. Because if Stephen finishes ahead of Callum, he wins the championship. So that could be great at the end of the race. Championship's been decided quite a few times here as the Haas retires. That is Jack. He was over a lap down at the back of the field anyway. And he has retired from the race. So he becomes our 3rd retirement. So Jack in the Haas, Anthony Bauer in the Williams. And Callum does get a penalty. So that evens it up. It's the first one I've seen for Callum. So that does even things up again now. So Stephen will be a little bit relieved of that. Of course, he won't know, of course. The other drivers don't know what drivers get what penalties, but I'm sure his manager will be straight on the radio to him. Race order top 10. Callum leads by 13 seconds. Stephen is closing the gap down in second in the Mercedes. Still a fantastic drive from Arthur in third place in the Renault. Jamie's fourth for McLaren and fifth in the Toro Rosso. Looking like to bring home some brilliant big load of points again for Toro Rosso. Kieran sixth, starting to close the gap. He's dragging Dean with him. I said look out for these two. Dean's also got past Gregor now. So Dean's recovered up into 7th place. Gregor is 8th for the Red Bull team. Matt Anderson, quiet race really, was in the battle but wasn't attacking many people earlier on as Dean sets fastest lap. But he's in 9th place, so looking like he could get some points here for Alpha. And Jamie Keats in the second Toro Rosso is in 10th position. So that is your top 10. They're your main points for us. Dean's now got fastest lap race at the moment. He gets the extra point. The other thing to remember with this league, the drivers outside the top 10, if they set the fastest lap of those drivers, if they finish the race, they will get 2 points added. And at the moment is Andrew in the McLaren running 11th, who has that with a 1:13.2. And you've got to say that fastest lap is quicker than a lot of the top 10. Only about 4 or 5 drivers are quicker than that in the top 10, so there is some pace in that McLaren. Just doesn't seem to be able to get it consistently, certainly not in qualifying, but he is closing the gap to the Toro Rosso ahead of him, so we could see a battle for the final World Championship point here. So this is the battle I'm looking forward to. Kieran versus Dean. This is for 6th place. Ferrari versus Mercedes. Number 2 drivers so far this season. Dean's going around the outside, Kieran protecting the inside. How late is Kieran going to brake? Dean brakes nice and late and moves ahead. Now, can Kieran come back and down this straight? Again, on the run down to turn 4, he will get the DRS this time. Dean protecting the inside. How late is Kieran going to brake? And, well, very sensible with that one. And backed out of it. But these two could be battling. If Dean can get a bit of speed on, I think fundamentally the Mercedes is a bit quicker than the Ferrari here. So he might just be able to break away. Meanwhile as well, crucially for the championship as well, is that Stephen set fastest lap now. So he, at the moment, gets the extra point, which means he will win the championship. Callum needs to outscore Stephen, don't forget, for a reminder for anyone who missed it earlier, Callum needs to outscore Stephen by 7 points to keep the World Championship alive. At the moment, he's on 25 points for the win. Stephen is on 19 points. That's 18 for 2nd place and the extra point for the fastest lap. So, as it stands, it remains like this, and the fastest lap doesn't change hands again, which I can't see happening, to be honest. And yes, as I say that, Callum sets a new fastest lap on a 1:11.6. The lap record around here is a 1:10.5, which was set by Valtteri Bottas, and Stephen replies and sets fastest lap again. So again, Stephen moves back into a championship winning position, but that is going to be changing hands, I think, right to the end of the race. These two are pushing hard. Stephen is just about chipping that lead down. It was 14 seconds when they moved on to slicks. It's down to just under 12 now. So we could yet see a fight between those two toward the end. We're on lap 47, about 3/4 of the way through the race now. 24 laps to go after the one they're on, or the leaders are on. Everybody up to 7th place, amazingly, has been lapped. So it goes to show the pace of Callum in this race so far. So Kieran is the next one to be lapped, as is Dean. Now that could be an interesting one. I wonder if there's any team orders going on here. Let's have a look, because Callum is coming up to not far away from Dean in 6th place to lap him, who of course is Stephen's teammate. So, I mean, obviously he will get a penalty if he holds him up for too long, and it depends where Callum catches him in the lap. But if he catches him in the middle part, the slower, twisty section, Dean could very much hold Callum up, cost him a few seconds, which could be crucial later on. So we've seen it happen many times in Formula 1 in the past. Don't be surprised to see it happening again. Callum coming up to lap his teammate now, who is 7th in the race. He will be a little bit disappointed, but of course don't forget there was that muck up on the pit stop where they put him back on intermediates instead of slicks, so that cost him about 25 seconds. But for that, he would be knocking on the door of 4th place with Kieran. So can't beat himself up too much about that. And he's in 7th, still some good points for Ferrari. And both those two, although he's dropping back a little bit from Dean, both Dean and Kieran are closing quite quickly on Ant Waddington in 5th. The question is, of course, Ant on the mediums, I'm sure, is going to the end. Dean and Kieran are both on the soft tyres. Will they have to stop again, or can they make them stick to the end? I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Callum and Stephen pit again, but I think Callum will wait for Stephen to pit, because of course the fastest lap here, that one extra point, could be crucial later on. We've already seen it changing hands a few times. Stephen holds it at the moment, which would make him world champion. At the same point, Callum won't want to stop, because at the moment, if he stops, he will come out about 11 seconds behind Stephen. And I'm sure if he did do that, Stephen would make his tyres last to the end. Both these two at the front have been excellent this season at making their tyres last. We saw Callum at Singapore make a set of hard tyres last 50 laps, which is just incredible around there. So Callum especially very, very good at making his tyres last. Callum now coming up to his teammate. I'm sure he'll be on the radio as quick as possible here to get his teammate out of the way. Give him a bit of a tow here though, which will help him. Yes, Kieran moves nicely out of the way, blends off the throttle. Oh, completely outbrakes himself. I was just going to say, best way of letting the leader through. And Kieran completely mucked up his braking and nearly took his teammate out. That would have caused a massive argument for Ferrari if that hadn't happened. But luckily Kieran did get out of the way. Stephen sets a new fastest lap again, but that little incident there cost Callum about 2 seconds of his lead. The lead is down to just under 10 seconds now. I don't think he'll be best impressed there. Not sure what happened. It's very easy to do on the dirty part of the track, and of course don't forget we had the rain earlier, so it could still be a little bit damp offline in the shadow of the pit buildings. That could have caught Kieran out, so it may not have been totally his fault, but very scary incident there for Ferrari. One driver nearly taking the other one out. We're a lap 50 now, 21 laps to go after the one that Callum's about to finish. And Dean is definitely catching Ant Waddington now, less than 15 seconds behind him, and can't get much closer to Jamie. They're fighting for 4th place. Arthur, meanwhile, is nearly a pit stop clear of Jamie Callan as well, and I think even if he does make a stop, the pace he's shown in this race on a brand new set of tyres, he'll only be a few seconds behind Jamie, and I think he'll very easily get past them. Fine drive from Arthur, been very impressed with him in the league so far. Really punching above his weight in that Renault, and looks like getting another podium for them as well. So stunning drive for them so far. Callum pushing on a bit here now. Pulled out about half a second again from Stephen. So perhaps only has still got the pace if he needs it. So we saw in Q3 they were so evenly matched, 2/100ths of a second only between them in Q3. And we're seeing it again here. Their fastest laps are very, very close as well. About a couple of tenths, but still not a lot in the grand scheme of things, 2/10 of a second. It's very, very tight between those two. And those two as well, if you look at the fastest lap classification, they're nearly a second, 3/4 of a second quicker than the next fastest, which is Dean. Dean's just done his personal best of the race. He's the only other driver to get into the 1 minute 11s. The next fastest after that is Arthur in 3rd place on a 1:12.2. So the two out front, as they have been all season, completely dominating the race. On lap 52, there is Dean just ahead of Callum now. Will there be any team orders put in here for the Mercedes team? He's a little way ahead. Dean pulling away quite quickly from Kieran now. He is a little way ahead, and of course Dean will be concentrating on his own race. He's catching Ant Waddington ahead of him. He's catching him about a second and a half a lap. So he's got enough time at the moment. As long as he make those tyres last to the end, he has got enough time to close up on that. And of course, that will then only put him about 3 seconds behind Jamie Callum in 4th. So if Dean can make those tyres last to the end, there's a high probability with his current pace that he could catch those cars ahead of him, because it's all dependent on pit stops. So this is what I love about, one of the things I love about Formula 1, the mixed strategies gives you such unpredictability, you never know what anyone's doing. Gareth there just being lapped by Callum again. He is currently last of the runners, not sure what's happened to him. He was knocking on the door of some points earlier on. He's now dropped back to 16th position. Had an extra stop, so I think he was on the soft tyres. He's gone on to the mediums now as Gareth. So the wet part of the race did help him, it did move him up. He said to me more than once that he hates driving in the rain. It feels like it's very, very slow, but every time I've seen him racing in the rain, Gareth, he's always there or thereabouts and seems to benefit from it hugely. There he is. He's 16th at the moment in the Alfa Romeo. Just ahead of him, there's a big battle going on. We've got Jimmy in 30th in the Haas, and a second and a half clear of Dan in the Renault, and Devon in the Red Bull. Now these two here show some good pace in other races, as Devon does go through now up the inside of Dan. But these two both seem to be struggling here this weekend. Previous races, they've shown some really good pace, been running nice and consistently in the top 10. Here this weekend, for whatever reason, whether it's setup, whether it's track preference, maybe they just don't like the track, whatever it is, they're both struggling. Qualified 14th and 16th, and they're currently running 14th and 15th, so not really moved from their starting positions. I mean, Dan was closing on the great battle we saw early on in the points, but he faded away, made a mistake, and has dropped back a little bit now. So here now is 8 seconds behind Dean, who's only 8 seconds behind Ant, who's now dropped to 4 seconds behind Jamie Callan. Arthur, I think, just needs a couple more seconds and he'll have a pit stop in his pocket over Jamie. So even if he can't make those tyres last to the end, it won't matter. Likewise as well, it has to be said for Stephen over Arthur. He's 22 seconds nearly clear. And that's almost a pit stop. About 25 seconds, I believe, for a pit stop around here. So he's almost there. Callum, meanwhile, having a good period of the race, really pushing hard. It's now 12 seconds clear of Stephen. He's pulled away a couple of seconds. Maybe he's going for that fastest lap. Can't quite get there at the moment, but he's lapping in the 111s. Stephen is in the early 112, so about half a second a lap at the moment. Callum's pulling away. So good effort from him at the moment, showing that pace we saw in the beginning of the race. Here is Arthur in third, very much on his own now. 22 seconds behind Stephen and nearly 25 clear of Jamie. Very easy when you're in this position to just make a silly error because you're not concentrating. So 16 laps to go for Arthur. Really hope he can hold on to it. I think he will. He's shown what a good, consistent driver he is. It's just so easy when you're in this position. The gap in front of you, get big gap behind you. Just lose a little bit of concentration, make a silly error. But at the moment, he's looking very, very good for a podium. Devon has just moved ahead of Jimmy to move into 13th position in the battle lower down. Andrew isn't really catching Jamie ahead of him. We saw that gap closing earlier on. It's now going back up again. Jamie 4 seconds clear of Andrew. So again, Andrew another one not quite on the pace this weekend that we've seen from him in previous races. Again, could be set up. I know a lot of drivers struggle around here because of the narrowness of the track, and it's a very difficult track to set the car up for as well, I found in my experience over the years. Very, very difficult. You've got these two long straights at the beginning of the lap down to turn 1 and then down into turn 4. So you want good straight line speed, but then of course you've got the very twisty technical section, which you need a good setup for, good suspension, good downforce to be able to get through that successfully. It's a difficult balancing act. Some drivers get it right, as we've seen Callum and Stephen clearly do this weekend. And some drivers, I think, are struggling a little bit with that this weekend. And I think Andrew might be one of them, unfortunately. But still, he's had a great few races. He really has. And who knows what might happen ahead of him. We've seen quite a few drivers have big crashes right at the end and retire from the race. Notably, Russia, we saw so many retirements there. Here is Dean in the pits. So he did have to make another stop. So that releases the pressure of Ant Waddington. He's actually just starting to close up on Jamie ahead of him again now. Jamie's lost a little bit of time. Not sure if he's made an error somewhere. But he's lost about a second to Ant. Dean comes out in 9th place, just behind Matt Anderson. I think he'll very quickly get back past him because he's not going to be that far behind him. There is Matt, there is Dean coming out the pits. Between them is Matt's teammate Gareth, but he'll have to get out of the way with the blue flags. So that will be interesting to see how far Dean can get up. He's about a second behind Matt, who's 5 seconds behind Gregor, who's 2 behind Kieran. So that could be a good challenge there for Dean. I think Kieran will be stopping again yet though. He too's on those soft tyres and starting to fall back as well now from Ant. He was closing up, but he's now dropping behind. Let's see what the leaders do here. We've seen Callum pushing the last few laps. Will he be stopping again? Yellow flag in sector 2. I think that might just be probably Gareth getting out of the way of Dean, to be honest. Callum now is out to nearly 13-second lead, lap 58. So it does look like he's got a bit of a stranglehold on this race, but I get the feeling here these two are waiting for the other one to move. Callum will not want to pit and fall behind Stephen. I think Stephen will have enough pace to just make those tyres last to the end. As Jamie Keats pits from 10th position, that's a surprise. He was on those medium tyres, so maybe an error and a bit of damage there. As Kieran too has made a mistake somewhere because he's now dropped behind Gregor. So Gregor up to 6th in the Red Bull. Kieran is only 5 seconds clear of Dean. He's already made a stop, and of course Kieran, I'm pretty sure, will have to stop again. So here is the fight. That's Kieran. He's just behind Gregor. That is a Mercedes just behind him, which I think is Stephen coming through to lap them. Stephen in 2nd place. I thought it was Dean for a second, but I'm pretty sure that's Stephen. Yes, because there is Matt with Anderson with Dean all over the back of him. So another tricky situation here. These two fighting hard for position, but then they have a leader coming through as well. And yes, Kieran gets a penalty for ignoring the blue flag. So locked in battle with Gregor. He then gets a penalty for ignoring the blue flag. Gregor jumps out of the way after being overtaken, so he will not get a penalty. But like I said, I'm pretty sure Kieran has to stop again. Those 5 seconds will be added to his pit stop. So the team will not be allowed to work on the car for 5 seconds when Kieran pits. So quite a big penalty that there. And he was only about 10 seconds behind Ant Waddington ahead of him. He's now nearly 17, so he has lost a lot of time as Kieran. But still in 6th place and pulling away again from Gregor. Callum, and actually Stephen has lost quite a lot of time there. He was only about 12 seconds behind the leader. He's now 15. So that has cost him quite a bit of time as Callum is coming through to lap Dan, who also gets a penalty for ignoring the blue flags. He does now move out of the way. Dan is running 14th in the Renault, and that's the 2nd time he's been lapped. So Callum carries on. Who is going to blink first of these leading pair? They're both seeing how long they can make the other one go on their soft tyres. Dean sets fastest lap on a 1:10.9. So he actually, at the moment, Stephen's teammate has just taken the World Championship away from Stephen as things stand. Because Dean taking that fastest lap means that extra point is not going to Stephen. So that means the World Championship will still be on just for the last race of the season next weekend at Abu Dhabi. I think Stephen will now pit because of that. Because he will want to get that fastest lap back. He won't be so fussed about the race win now. He'll just want that fastest lap back. Dean, of course, got onto a brand new set of the soft tyres. Michael Booker pits as well from 12th. still a good drive from him from the back of the field. Started 19th after a qualifying ban. So still a good drive from him to get up as high as 12th. Also again knocking on the door of the points earlier on as well. Dean now up behind Gregor. That's the battle for 7th. Closest battle on the track. Let's see if I can find it. Yes, Dean's through. Dean with the DRS wide open has easily nailed Gregor on the run down to turn 1. Gregor I don't think would have fought that too hard. He knows that Dean's in a much faster car and much faster tyres as well. So Dean up to 7, he's now 4 seconds behind Kieran. He's still carrying on those very old now soft tyres, so maybe he is trying to make them go to the end. I think he'll struggle to hang on to 6 though. That Mercedes behind him has got a lot more pace. So lap 61 is getting closer to the end of the race. As it stands, Stephen will need 1 point in Abu Dhabi to win the World Championship. He is 15.5 seconds behind Callum, who's dominated this race from the start. Had a fantastic start from pole position, had a 2-second lead by the end of lap 1, and has really looked largely untroubled ever since. Managed to get the soft tyres to last to the brief rain shower, and the lead really has been between 10 and 15 seconds now for a long time. So great drive from Callum. He needed this drive to keep the championship alive. When I spoke to him earlier, he said he's not expected to win the championship, he just would love to keep it going to the last race. So at the moment, that's mission accomplished, unless of course Stephen can snatch back the fastest lap of the race. So, but interestingly here, he's nearly a pit stop clear of Arthur. So if he can get a little bit more of a gap to Arthur, don't be surprised to see Stephen pit in the last few laps and try and snatch that fastest lap back, because that would win in the championship here this evening. So lots of different connotations here, but as it stands, Callum leads by 15 seconds from Stephen. The World Championship fight will go on as it stands to the next race in Abu Dhabi, the final race of the season. Arthur is driving fantastically well in 3rd place in the Renault. And has looked largely untroubled as well in 3rd place. He's been half a minute clear of his closest competitor, which is Jamie in the McLaren, and he's just driven so well. We're into the last few laps now, on lap 63. So 8 laps to go after this one. Everyone up to and including Ant Waddington in 5th place, amazingly, has been lapped. Goes to show the pace of the front 2. And Jamie Callum isn't far away either. Jamie Keats retires from the race, so he becomes our 4th retirement. Jamie Keats in the Toro Rosso had a difficult day, qualified in 12th, was on the fringes of the points, but he has now retired from the race, so he becomes our 4th retirement. I think I'm actually wondering here if he's actually crashed, because the yellow flag in sector 1 is still there. No, he retired in the pit, so what's the yellow flag for here? As Dean has got past Kieran meanwhile. So Dean back into 6th place. Kieran trying to fight back around the outside of turn 4, but can't quite. And Dean has made it stick now. So Dean up to 6 on those fresh soft tyres. As Arthur gets a penalty, and I actually think that's his first one of the race. And we've seen everyone else get a penalty so far. So well done Arthur for lasting to lap 64 before getting a penalty. Now is Stephen going to pit here? If I was Ferrari, I'd definitely look at it, because he's practically a pit stop clear of Arthur. And if he can get the fastest lap at the end, it will win in the championship. So don't be surprised in the next couple of laps to see, here is Stephen coming near the pit lane now. just lapped his teammate. Is he going to dive in? I thought he was there for a second. He's not. And he's let his teammate unlap himself as well there. So Dean on an amazing charge. He's back to just 12.5 seconds behind Ant Wallington and catching him extremely quickly. So Dean has just unlapped himself from his teammate. And that will also give Dean the chance to break the DRS to Kieran, who's still behind Stephen. So good teamwork there from the two Mercedes. So the lead now out to 16.5 seconds. Stephen is 24.5 clear of Arthur in third place. So what a race we're seeing. So many battles up and down the field. Closest battle on track at the moment is Ant Wallington, just starting to edge back up to Jamie in the last few laps. That is for fourth place, and I think, yes, Jamie has now been lapped, so those two here could yet have a good fight for fourth. Only the top three are on the same lap, amazingly. Such is the dominance of those two. Arthur's been the only one to be able to hold a flame to them, really. And even he is some 42 seconds off the lead. So, Stephen lets Kieran go as well. So, not quite sure what's going on with Stephen here. He's just let Kieran unlap himself as well. He's nearly 20 seconds now behind Callum. He's dropped back a lot in the last few laps. So not quite sure what's going on there. But he's still in second place. He's still just, well, he's lost a bit of time to Arthur behind him. You've got to say, Callum did pit now. With the extra pace from those tyres, I think he would quite easily get back past Stephen. It wasn't the case before when the gap was around 10 seconds. And now it's pushing 20. It's certainly a possibility. Is Stephen going to pit? We're on lap 67. Let's have a look. No, it's not. It's so confusing here because, of course, the racing line goes over the pit entrance. So never very easy to tell if someone's finishing a lap or coming in the pits during the race. Callum continues on. Nearly 20-second lead now. Dominant race from him. As Andrew pits from 10th position. He'll hang on to that 10th place as he's nearly 45 seconds clear of Devon in 11th. Meanwhile, as well, of course, don't forget the fastest lap for those outside the top 10 at the moment. That's held by Michael Booker in 14th place. He's on a 1:11.8. One of only 5 drivers to break the 1:11 mark. So good effort there from Michael in the racing point. He's actually lap quicker than Kieran in the Ferrari, so very good effort there from Michael. And it looks like 2 points are on their way to him. We're on lap 68 now. We're watching Stephen again. Will he pit? This is a big question mark. Does he have any fresh soft tyres left? Or is he quite happy to see the championship go on to the last race, knowing that he literally needs 1 point as things stand in Abu Dhabi? This will put him 26 points ahead of Callum in the World Championship, and there's only 26 available. So at the moment, Stephen's pretty much sewn up the championship here. Ooh, there's a Renault going a bit slowly there. That is Dan. He's running 12th. Just got in the way a little bit of Stephen there. Did just about see him in time. He was just letting Kieran through. I don't think he realised there was another car right behind him. So Callum goes through to complete lap 68. Still curious to see what Mercedes are going to do here. Meanwhile, Dean is now 5.5 seconds only behind Ant Wallington. Is there enough time? Of course, he's going to have 1 less lap because he's a lap down in 6th place. Can he catch Ant quick enough? Another penalty for Stephen. But, well, 21 seconds down in second place, so it doesn't matter too much. Lap 69 of the race, only the top 3 are on the same lap. Now, there's Arthur in third place. Taking the gap really to Stephen, still 24 seconds behind him. So here is Ant Waddington now. He is just now 3.5 seconds. Another second and a half has come out of the gap to Dean. This is the battle for 5th place. Dean started third. He's in a very eventful race. 2 spins, a drive-through penalty. And he has recovered up to 6th place now as Dean. And he's chasing down Ant very quickly. Taking about 2 seconds out of him so far. The yellow flag in sector 2. I think you might mean someone letting a leader through. And look at this. The 2 leaders have pitted. We're going to have a 1-lap shootout now for the fastest lap that could decide the World Championship here this evening. What drama right at the end of the race. Callum pits from the lead. Does Arthur pit? I think Stephen's going to be fine anyway. So the 2 leaders now, it's going to be a 1-lap shootout on the final lap of the race. We're on lap 70. If Stephen sets fastest lap and finishes second, he wins the World Championship. So it's all or nothing for these 2. They've waited till lap 70 of the race. They've given each other 1 chance. Amazingly, Callum's still a lap clear of his teammate there. That's how far ahead of his teammates. And look at this as well. Ant Waddington, he's less than a second clear of Dean. So this is going to be the fight for 5th in the last couple of laps as well. So we've seen Dean have a couple of incidents in a few races. Can he get past? And he's on much fresher tyres, much quicker tyres as well. So you think it's pretty straightforward, but Ant's a very good racer, very good defensive driver. Now, let's have a look. These 2 now are on to Brand. Oh, that's not going to help. Callum's got some traffic on his final lap. That's not helped at all. That's a Red Bull of Gregor, I believe. And Dean has got past that. In the midfield section, the extra grip of those fresher tyres really helping there. So Dean up to 5th. Now, Callum is 4 tenths up on his best at the moment. Stephen, well, Callum is going to come through and win the race, no doubt about it. Driver of the day, very, very quickly for me. I'm going to give it to Arthur for a stunning drive to 3rd in the Renault. Really, really good. A great fight with Stephen early on. Can Callum snatch fastest lap right then? He's going to come down to the final lap. Callum Harrod comes through to win the Brazilian Grand Prix. Does he set fastest lap? Yes, he does. A 1:09.9. Stephen Harrison also on his final lap of the race. If he sets fastest lap, he will clinch the championship here. So let's have a look. Stephen Harrison is going to come through to take 2nd. Matt Anderson finishes in 7th. After the penalties added to Kieran, he drops back to 8th. And he doesn't quite do it. 1:10.0, not enough. So the championship is still alive. Arthur comes home 3rd. Great drive from him. Here is Jamie Callan. He is going to just about hang on to 4th. Dean is catching him very, very quickly. But not quick enough. Jamie Callan. Quite a quiet race really from Jamie, but very, very good. He was there to pounce when Dean and Ant got together earlier, and he moved up to 4th, and he's been there ever since. Jamie Callan in the McLaren comes home in 4th place. Dean, well, what an instant pack race he's had, but he still comes home in 5th place. And Waddington, well, won't be too disappointed. He still finishes 6th. Matt Anderson, comes home in 7th place. Great result for him. He qualified 9th. Kieran, after the penalties that were applied to him, he finishes in 8th place for Ferrari. Again, a very instant field race for him. Really struggled to move above 6th position there, did Kieran, but still some good points for Ferrari. Gregor, solid race from him. He comes home in 9th. And Andrew in the McLaren finishes in 10th place. Devon 11th for Red Bull. Then Michael Booker 12th. He gets the... No, he doesn't actually. Sorry. Jimmy 13th. Dan in the Renault snatches the fastest lap outside the top 10 right at the end with a 1:11.3. He finishes 14th. And the last of the runners is Gareth Lambourne in the second Alfa Romeo. He comes home in 15th position. So, let's see if I can get the top 3 in for an interview. Like I said, amazingly, the World Championship does carry on. Callum scores 26 points today to Stevens 18. So it means that the championship lead is 25 points with 26 available. So it's an outside bet, but it's still possible. And he's done what he wanted to do. He's kept the World Championship alive to the final race. So I'm just trying to find Arthur and get him into the session as well. So we've got Callum and Dean here. If you just make sure your audio is included, gentlemen, so the viewers can hear you. I apologise.